Chapter 688. Is this the strength of the Earthgate realm's mental power? As expected, it can't be compared to a grade 9 alchemist. Closing his eyes to rest, Fei Ren felt the boundless mental energy in the depths of his mind and sighed with emotion. With his current mental power and many years of immersion in alchemy, refining an Earth-grade pill was not a problem for him. He was worthy of the title of an Earth-grade alchemist. However, Fei Ren had just broken through to the Earthgate realm not long ago, and his control over his spiritual force was not very good. The quality of the Earth-grade pills he refined was generally not high, and might be between ordinary and inferior. In the world of alchemists, above the Earth-grade was the heavens, and above the heaven-grade was revered. Whether it was an Earth-grade pill, a heaven-grade pill, or even a venerable-grade pill, the quality of the pills was generally divided into 5 grades: inferior, ordinary, good, excellent, and perfect. For Earth-grade pills, the better the quality and color of the pills, the more powerful the effects of the pills. Therefore, to judge whether an Earth-grade alchemist was strong or not, it was mainly based on their success rate and the quality of the pills that came out of the furnace. At present, Fei Ren was merely an entry-level Earth-grade alchemist. Although the qualifications of an Earth-grade alchemist were still respected in the outside world and were revered by many martial artists, compared to a true alchemy grandmaster, there was still quite a gap. It's time to leave this place. Fei Ren slowly got up. In the next moment, the scenery around him suddenly changed. The original paradise disappeared, and at this moment, he was back in the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect. Damn, what happened this time? Fei Ren was surprised. He found that his entire body was enveloped by a pure white light, and his surroundings had long been reduced to ruins. He Jinwu and the others had also disappeared. He couldn't get out. Fei Ren's expression was somewhat ugly. The ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect were buried deep underground, and the only teleportation formation around them had lost its effect. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for him to leave this place, unless he used the power of the Immortal refining cauldron to open another space tunnel to escape. I can only rely on the power of the Immortal refining cauldron. Fei Ren shook his head. Just as he was about to summon the Immortal refining cauldron, there was a sudden, thunderous explosion. Boom! The white light that enveloped Fei Ren's body instantly shattered and turned into bubbles. In the next moment, as the white light dissipated, Fei Ren's figure gradually became blurry and disappeared in an instant. Emperor Pit, on a leeward slope filled with yellow sand whoosh. In midair, a white light streaked across the horizon. In the next moment, Fei Ren's figure also fell from it, plunging into the vast yellow sand. Ba ba ba! Fei Ren struggled to get up and hurriedly spat out a few mouthfuls of sand from his mouth. He had a strange expression on his face. So that white light was also a teleportation formation. Looks like all of this was arranged by the Mo family's great child. From the time he received the inheritance of the last generation of the Mo family, Mo Lin, to the time he learned about the war between the Heavenly Demon Clan and the Black Star Continent, and finally being sent out of the ruins by the teleportation array, all of this was obviously related to the dead Mo Lin. Senior Mo Lin, I didn't expect you to still care about the safety of the continent after being dead for so many years. I really admire you. Fei Ren cupped his hands and bowed in the direction where Mo Lin's remnant soul had disappeared. This trip to the ancient weapon refining sect ruins was not a wasted trip. Moreover, he had gained a lot. Even the Mo family's greatest opportunity was in his bag. Although Fei Ren had used up the support-type spiritual treasure, Jade Annulus of the clan, and the Mo family's chief token to increase his yin-yang law and mental energy, the gray brocade pouch that Mo Lin had left behind still contained many treasures and opportunities. After deducting the large amount of primordial stones that he had used to break through to level 10 Martial King realm, Fei Ren roughly estimated that the gray brocade pouch contained at least 100 million upper-grade primordial stones, a small amount of supreme-grade primordial stones, natural treasures, mechanisms, beasts, furnaces, and so on. If he used all of these cultivation resources, it would be more than enough to nurture a few mystique venerables or even establish a rank 5 sect. Emperors are really rich. After putting away the gray brocade pouch, Fei Run smacked his lips. Currently, he had more than 100 million primordial stones in his possession. This was on a completely different level compared to the primordial stones he had earned at the ancient city auction. I wonder if Senior Troy has come out of seclusion after so many days. Fei Rin stroked his chin. When he had left Thunder City, Troy had been in seclusion and had even ordered him to give up the position of the future city lord to him. Troy had been one of the 10 punishment elders of the Dragon Sect in his early years. When Fei Rin had first set foot in the Sky Burial Ancient Plains, he had given him a lot of help. Whether it was because of his parents' relationship or the kindness of guiding him, Fei Rin would never forget it. Fei Rin had always been the kind of person who would repay kindness with kindness. Let's go back and take a look, Fei Rin thought to himself. Crack. However, just as Fei Rin was about to leave, the high-grade spiritual ring on his right thumb suddenly exploded. Bang! In the next moment, the spiritual ring shattered and turned into powder on the ground. Fei Rin's face was also slightly stunned. Swish! Before he could react, a tall and skinny figure appeared out of thin air. At this moment, he was staring blankly at his surroundings. The tall figure had a pale face, sharp eyebrows, and starry eyes. He looked like an extraordinarily beautiful young man. His thick black hair drooped down on his shoulders. The only awkward thing was that he was not wearing any clothes. Only a few white bone blades covered his private parts. You are Little White. Seeing this scene, Fei Rin was stunned for a moment, then said with a face of shock, Oh, you are? Master. The youth's face was confused. He also turned his head to look at Fei Rin. After hesitating for a long time, his eyes finally revealed a trace of determination. He said somewhat incoherently, Wait. Wait for Master's orders. Obviously, after the double baptism of the Ink Magic Stone and the Yunling Bone, the puppet Little White had finally been reborn and had completely evolved into a human. It was no different from a real human. However, now that it had just transformed into a human form, the puppet Little White obviously didn't know how to speak yet. Good boy, why are you so polite? The two of us have been through life and death together for many years, and you even saved my life. In the future, don't call me Master, just call me Big Brother. Seeing that the puppet Little White had transformed into a human, Fei Rin's face was filled with gratification. He stepped forward and patted the other party's shoulder. Yes, Big Brother. The puppet Little White was stunned as it nodded its head in a daze. That's right. Fei Rin smiled. At first, he was wondering why the high-level spirit ring on his hand suddenly exploded. It turned out that the puppet Little White had completed its evolution. The spirit ring was a special type of spatial spirit treasure. It was different from the storage bag and the beast taming pouch. The latter could store living things, but the inner space of the spirit ring could not store any living creatures. Therefore, in the instant that the puppet Little White completed its evolution, the high-level spirit ring on Fei Rin's hand could not withstand the aura of a living creature and exploded on the spot. Although he had lost a high-level spirit ring, Fei Rin did not feel any heartache. This was because he now had a good helper in the mystique venerable realm. Moreover, it was a loyal and devoted helper who was not afraid of death. Now that you've transformed into a human, it's not appropriate to call you Puppet Little White anymore. From now on, you'll be called Ma Bai. Fei Rin stroked his chin with a thoughtful expression. Then, he looked at the respectful and restrained Little White in front of him and grinned. Ma Bai, this will be my name from now on, Puppet Little White muttered to itself, then nodded its head heavily. Thank you, Big Brother. Chapter 689. Second Brother, put on your clothes. We'll be on our way soon. Fei Rin took out a complete set of gray short robes from his spirit ring and tossed it to Ma Bai. Yes, Big Brother. Ma Bai blankly caught the robes and wrapped himself in the new robes to cover his skinny body. His expression was still a little timid, and his tone was respectful. Although he had taken human form and gained some basic intelligence, he had followed Fei Rin for many years and his sense of master and servant was still very strong. His every word and action was respectful. After all, Mabai used to be an ordinary puppet whose only purpose was to protect Fei Ren. When Mabai was still a puppet, his body had been destroyed many times. In the end, Fei Ren had to gather all kinds of materials to repair Mabai's puppet body. Looks like this kid won't be able to adapt to human life in a short time. Looking back at the clumsy Mabai, Fei Ren smiled and shook his head helplessly. In truth, he had another reason for giving him this name. The school of Mo was either white or black. Mabai's body was recast from ink magic stone, and Fei Ren himself had inherited a trace of Mo Lin's inheritance. That was why he gave Little White such a name. Firstly, this name was catchy and easy to remember. Secondly, Fei Ren wanted to commemorate the ancient Emperor Realm expert, Mo Lin, who died fighting against the heavenly demons. Without Mo Lin's remnant soul teaching him, he would not have been able to obtain the treasures left behind by the ancient weapon refining sect. His mind power would not have improved and broken through to the lower Earth Gate realm. Big brother, where are we going next? After putting on his clothes, Mabai took a deep breath and looked at Fei Ren tentatively. No rush. Familiarize yourself with your body and strength first. You'll be useful later, Fei Ren said lightly. The next moment, he took out a round, milky white pill from his spirit ring and tossed it to Mabai. Eat it. Big brother, what's this? Mabai was confused. Eat it. It'll be good for you. Big brother won't cheat you. Fei Ren grinned. This was an earth-rank pill he had attempted to refine back in the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect. It was called the 9 Reincarnation Restoration Pill, and it wasn't a very high-rank pill. Its only function was to recover elemental energy and heal injuries. The effect depended on the quality of the pill. Coincidentally, he wanted to borrow Mabai's hands to see the effects of the first Earth-grade pill he had refined. Oh, Mabai nodded obediently, then raised his head and swallowed the 9 Reincarnation Restoration Sultan. Gulp, the pill melted in his mouth, and in the next moment, Mabai's face turned red. His throat was dry, and he felt a burning sensation coming from his lower abdomen. It was as if his entire body was burning. How's the effect of this pill? Fei Ren stared at him without blinking. Big brother, I feel like my entire body is filled with power. Mabai clenched his fists tightly and panted heavily. His originally blank eyes were now filled with a sharp light. His strength was originally comparable to a third-level mystique, venerable realm martial artist. Now that he had swallowed an earth-rank pill, he was like a tiger that had grown wings. He was extremely excited. At this moment, Mabai even had the illusion that he was invincible. It was as if he could fight 10 martial artists of the same level by himself. Looks like the effect of a 9 Reincarnation Restoration Sultan I refined is not bad. Fei Ren rubbed his chin when he saw the other party's excited expression and powerful aura. A meaningful smile appeared on his face. Second brother, let's go. Big brother, I'll bring you to see the world. After patting Mabai's shoulder again, Fei Ren turned around and flew towards the other side of the sky. Big brother, wait for me. Seeing this, Mabai hurriedly followed behind and flew over as well. Emperor's Pit, outside Guanyang City, on the ancient road. This place was located in the center of Emperor's Pit. As for Guanyang City, it was an important town. Its area was even larger than Tianfeng City, where the He family was located, as well as the ancient city where Fei Ren had stopped at. Usually, there were many rogue cultivators and sect geniuses who came to Guanyang City to seek treasures and train. It was a chaotic area. Why hasn't this kid returned after so long? Fei Ren had a stalk of hay in his mouth as his gaze quietly fell on the dusty, ancient road not far away. Could it be that he encountered some troublesome enemies? It had been about 2 hours since Mabai left. Previously, in order to gather information, he had specially sent Mabai out and instructed him to capture a few more spies. After all, Fei Ren had stayed in the ancient weapon refining sect ruins for at least a month. He had no idea what had happened in Emperor's Pit during this period of time, or if there had been any revelations between the major forces. Right now, he needed a few spies to provide information, or in other words, captives. "Big brother, I'm back." At this moment, an excited man's voice suddenly came from not far away. In the next moment, Mabai, whose face was covered in dust, rushed in the direction of Fei Ren with 2 captives in his hands. "I've gathered all the information. These people are all pretty much the same. There shouldn't be too big of a mistake." With that, Mabai loosened his grip and threw the 2 captives to the ground. Ouch! As soon as his butt landed on the ground, a tall and thin man with a hedgehog head knelt on the ground and begged for mercy, kowtowing to Mabai. "Spare me, sir. Spare me, sir." "What nonsense! My big brother is here." Seeing this, Mabai frowned slightly, somewhat displeased. "I was blind, I was wrong. Sir, please spare my life." Seeing this, the hedgehog head man instantly understood. He turned around and knelt down to Fei Ren. I don't know anything." Beside him, a slightly plump young man was kneeling on the ground. At this moment, he was looking at Mabai and Fei Ren with a face full of fear. He seemed to be so nervous that he couldn't speak. The plump young man was a young sect master of a 6th grade sect near Guanyang City. He had an extraordinary background and was also a martial king. However, he had encountered an iron plate on this trip. Although Mabai looked fair and clean, looking like a weak scholar, his strength was terrifyingly powerful. Just now, he had killed all the martial king guards around him with a single move, not leaving a single one alive. "Sirs, I was just passing by Guanyang City and wanted to take some money from the dead. I didn't do anything bad." The hedgehog headman begged for mercy again. Fei Ren had a look of disdain on his face. "Are you a tomb raider? You're at least a martial king. How dare you make a fortune from the dead?" He looked down on walking earth immortals like the other party who relied on tomb raiding and digging up money from the dead to make a fortune. Moreover, the other party's cultivation was at martial king realm. Although his cultivation was not high, only at LV4 martial king realm, it would be very embarrassing if word got out. It's all for the sake of making a living. Sirs, you really have good eyesight." The hedgehog headman rubbed his hands embarrassedly and smiled. Chapter 690. "Stop talking nonsense and kneel down," Mabai said angrily. He lifted his leg and kicked the hedgehog-headed man to the ground. "Big brother, this kid is very slippery." He was lying on the ground, pretending to be dead. I was almost fooled by him. Although he had taken human form, his mind was not fully mature. He was just like a teenager, impatient and impulsive. If it wasn't for Fei Ren's previous instructions to capture a few captives alive, Mabai would have already chopped up the hedgehog-headed man in front of him. The other party was really too cunning, and he almost escaped. "What's the situation outside?" Fei Ren ignored the hedgehog-headed man and the fat youth and asked again. There were countless cities and towns around the Emperor's Pit, and there were countless forces of all sizes. Among them, there were only a few that were more powerful, such as the He family of Tianfeng City and the City Lord's Mansion of Thunder City. Fei Ren had just arrived at Guanyang City and was not familiar with the local forces here. Therefore, he needed to capture a few prisoners to understand the situation. "Big brother, it doesn't seem very peaceful." Mabai clenched his fists together and said in a serious tone, "Recently, there's a rumor that an emperor's tomb has appeared. Not only has it caused a lot of turmoil, but several forces and sects near Guanyang City are also restless, as if they want to get a share of the pie." "An emperor's tomb?" Hearing this, Fei Ren was a little surprised. Could it be that the rumor of Mo Lin and the ancient weapon refining sect's ruins has already spread outside? However, only he Zhenwu, and the others knew about this matter. With the other party's personality, he obviously would not take the initiative to self-destruct and reveal that he had been to the ancient weapon refining sect's ruins. This was tantamount to asking for trouble. Although the He family was a large family in Tianfeng City and was not inferior to any fifth-rank sect, if the He family really exposed the secret of the ancient weapon refining sect's ruins, they would definitely be surrounded and annihilated by the various forces who would come after hearing the news. After all, to a martial artist, Nothing was more important than opportunities and treasures. What's going on? Feyrin looked at Mabai. I don't know the exact situation either. I only know that the Floating Cloud Sect, the Tyrant Blade Union, and the Flowing Cloud Sect have already moved out in full force. They are all rushing towards the Bujo mountain range where the Emperor's mausoleum is suspected to have appeared. Currently, a large number of martial artists have gathered at the Bujo mountain range, and experts are as common as clouds. Mabai scratched his head and said, "Big brother, what should we do? Do you want to come along and take a look?" The Floating Cloud Sect, the Tyrannical Sword Alliance, and the Flowing Cloud Sect were all famous sects near Guanyang City. Their foundations were no weaker than that of a fourth-grade force, and there were many mystique, venerable rank fighters in their sections. They also had many young geniuses under them. At this moment, it was clearly not an ordinary opportunity that could cause these three great factions to scramble like ducks. The Bujo mountain range. That's a remote place. It's almost out of the Emperor's Pit's territory and very close to the Glacial Sky Valley in the extreme north. Feyrin looked thoughtful. The Glacial Sky Valley was one of the Black Star Continent's 10 great forbidden lands. It was extremely dangerous and filled with demonic beasts. Even some of the veteran mystique, venerable rank fighters did not dare to enter and leave as they pleased. Now that the Emperor's tomb had suddenly appeared in the Bujo mountain range near the Glacial Sky Valley, the rumors were most likely true. Opportunities and treasures belong to the strong. Feyrin made up his mind and smiled. Second brother, since there's such a good thing happening right now, we naturally have to go and join the fun. If we're lucky, we might even be able to get some benefits from it. Yes, big brother. Mabai nodded obediently. The next moment, he looked at the trembling, hedgehog-headed man and the fat youth beside him. What about these two guys? Kill them, Feyrin said calmly. Now that the information had been gathered, the other party had naturally lost his value as a captive. Coincidentally, Mabai had just transformed into a human and was not very mature yet. Right now, he needed to train the other party's determination to kill. After all, in the world of martial artists, there was no such thing as mercy. It was either you die or I die. No, master, spare my life. Hearing this, the hedgehog-headed man instantly broke out in a cold sweat and trembled like a sieve. He didn't expect that in the end, he still couldn't escape death. Endless despair rose in his heart. Die. However, after receiving Feyrin's order, Mabai didn't give the other party a chance to continue talking nonsense. With a palm, he shattered the hedgehog-headed man's heart meridian and completely turned him into a cold corpse. Bastard, do you two know who I am? Seeing the hedgehog-headed man die instantly at the hands of Mabai, the fat youth beside him was scared out of his wits. His eyes were filled with anger and fear as he looked at the two of them. I advise you to let me go quickly. Otherwise, my father won't let you go. Oh, your father is very powerful, right? Mabai glanced at the fat youth with some disdain. In the next moment, he slowly pulled out a pair of sharp bone blades from his waist. Obviously, he didn't take the other party's threat to heart. Go to hell. The fat youth roared in rage. In the next moment, he gathered all the origin energy in his body and punched towards Mabai's abdomen. Bang! The bone blade in his hand moved forward and blocked the opponent's full-force punch. Mabai's eyes instantly turned red. Damn fatty, you still dare to sneak attack. Kill! Ah! The blade slashed out diagonally, accompanied by a miserable scream from the fat youth. Immediately, Mabai chopped off his right arm, causing blood to flow out like a fountain. You're dead meat. You two bastards. This young master is the young sect master of the True Yuan sect. If you dare to kill me, my father will definitely not let you off. Before he could finish his sentence, the fat youth's head was chopped off by Mabai, and he died on the spot. Puff. I don't care who your father is. The bone blade in his hand slashed again, cutting the fat youth's corpse into two. Mabai spat out a mouthful of saliva. As long as you dare to offend my big brother, no matter who you are, you will die in the end. True Yuan sect? Feyrin frowned slightly. He seemed to have heard of this sect somewhere, but he suddenly couldn't remember where he had heard of it. Forget it. I'll deal with it when the time comes. After all, I've offended more than one or two people. Fei-Ren shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Second brother, let's go. Fei-Ren activated the Immortal refining cauldron to absorb the remaining essence of the hedgehog-headed man and the fat youth on the ground. The next moment, he patted Mabai's shoulder and flew toward the Buzhou mountain range. He was also very interested in the tomb of an Emperor realm expert. At the same time, True Yuan's sect, the main hall of the sect, a white-robed figure stood in the air, his aura shocking. Crack! A green soul lamp that symbolized the immortality of the soul suddenly shattered. What? The soul lamp shattered. The white-robed figure's expression changed slightly, and the next moment, his face turned furious, his eyes red. Who is it? How dare you kill my son? A vast and boundless Yuan power aura instantly engulfed the entire large hall. Immediately, strong winds howled endlessly, and even the marble floor beneath their feet cracked open, as if it was a manifestation of the other party's boundless fury. Sectmaster, please calm down. At the side of the hall, a black-haired old man in a black robe quickly stepped forward and bowed respectfully to the white-robed figure. His tone was uneasy. Now that the tomb of the Flame Emperor has appeared, and the young sectmaster is suddenly killed, this old servant believes that the young sectmaster most likely brought people to the Buzhou mountain range and met with an accident. Chapter 691. Tomb of the Flame Emperor, Buzhou mountain range. The white-robed figure's tone revealed a trace of doubt, but it was still filled with endless anger. Li Tong, what's going on? Suppressing the anger in his heart, the white-robed figure asked coldly. Although he was the sect master, he had been in seclusion for several months in order to break through his stagnant cultivation base. He did not know much about the outside world, and, at the same time, did not know about the rumors of the tomb of the Emperor Realm powerhouse near the Buzhou mountain range. Sect master, it's like this. The black-haired old man, named Li Tong, cupped his hands again and said in a nervous tone, About half a month ago, an outer disciple of the Flowing Cloud sect accidentally entered the Buzhou mountain range. In the end, not only did he escape by luck, but he also found an ancient relic. After speculation by various forces, it is very likely that this relic is the tomb of the Flame Emperor from ancient times. The Flame Emperor was one of the famous Emperor realm powerhouses in ancient times. His strength was unfathomable, and he possessed the power of fire that could burn everything. He was the king of fire, the lord of all fire. Flame Emperor? Li Tong is that the lord of all fire who killed 3 demon emperors by himself thousands of years ago. The Flame Emperor. Hearing this, the white-robed figure was stunned at first, then said in a deep voice, Sect Master, if the rumors are true, then it can't be wrong. Li Tong nodded again. His expression was equally solemn. In ancient times, the heavenly demon clan from the outer starfield invaded and wreaked havoc, causing the various forces of the continent, the human race and the magical beast race, to join forces to resist. Thus, the First Continental Holy War broke out, and the Flame Emperor mentioned by the other party was the supreme powerhouse in that era. One should know that in the ancient Xian star continent, the immortal chi source was not cut off, and the celestial vault was not completely sealed. At that time, the strength of the Emperor realm powerhouses was far stronger than the current Emperor realm, perhaps even several times stronger. Moreover, the Flame Emperor had killed 3 demonic emperors of the same rank by himself. His strength was simply outrageous. Even the head of the ancient weapon refining sect, Lin, who had given Fei-Ren the opportunity, had only managed to seal a demon emperor after exhausting all his strength and even sacrificing his life. On the other hand, the Flame Emperor had single-handedly annihilated 3 demon thearchs. The tombs he had left behind contained opportunities and treasures that were enough to drive many warriors crazy. Good. I will personally investigate the Buzhou mountain range. The anger on the white-robed figure's face gradually dissipated, but under his sleeves, his fists were tightly clenched. Obviously, He was not willing to let Fei Ren go so easily. By the way, who was the thief who killed Chung or sect master? It seems to be a rogue cultivator called Fei Ren. However, young sect master's soul lamps have all shattered, so the information recorded on them is limited. We only know that this person is still in the Emperor's pit and has not left the sky burial ancient plane. Li Tong didn't dare dally and hurriedly replied. The man's name was Luo Tian, and he was the leader of a sixth-rank sect, the True Essence sect. The one whose soul lamp had shattered was his son, Luo Cheng. Very good, that's enough. No matter who it is, if they dare to provoke the Zhenyuan sect, I will tear them to pieces. As a sacrifice to Cheng Er's soul in heaven. With a cold harumph, Luo Tian flicked his sleeves and left, his baleful aura spreading out in all directions. Li Tong, let's go. By the way, Sect Master, should we inform the Floating Cloud Sect's Madame Luo of this news? As if remembering something, Li Tong raised his head and looked at Luo Tian. Luo Tian's sister had married the Floating Cloud Sect's Grand Elder in the early years and was the proper legal wife. She had a high position and power, and her words carried a lot of weight in the sect. It was because of this solid relationship and the fact that they had the backing of a fourth-rank sect, the Floating Cloud sect, that the True Essence sect had developed extremely quickly in recent years. The number of disciples in the sect was several times more than before. Don't spread this news for now. Although the Floating Cloud sect and our True Essence sect are close friends, the Yun family is not a kind person. The alliance between the two families was only for the sake of benefits. Right now, if we ask the Floating Cloud sect and the Yun family to find the culprit, that little bastard Yun Haoshuan will probably take the opportunity to demand an exorbitant price. After pondering for a moment, Luo Tian said coldly, indicating that there was no need to mention it. On the other side, in the Flying Sky Bandits' lair, this was a steep and secluded cliff where few people would go. The entire stronghold was located halfway up the mountain. At a glance, the layers were clearly defined. A large white skull flag swayed in the wind and was planted at the top of the stronghold, as if declaring that this road was off limits and that no one was allowed to enter. In the heart of the stronghold, in the meeting hall, crack! The crisp sound of an iron bowl breaking rang out. The next moment, a few men's angry curses came from the hall. Mother of Asterisker, what the hell are you guys doing? We've been out scouting for more than half a month, and you don't even know who killed Old Third and the others. A bunch of trash. What use do I have for you guys? Drag them all out and chop them up. The Flying Sky Bandits don't need trash. In the middle of the hall, a tall man wearing a white skull mask and a black cloak shouted angrily. He seemed to be in a rage. Spare me, great Ghost Lord, third Ghost Lord, and the bodies of our dead brothers. This little one has already searched the vicinity of the ancient city, but still found nothing. Great Ghost Lord, please give this little one a little more time and spare this little one's life. At this moment, a few bandits wearing cloth armor and sabers at their waists were also kowtowing and begging for mercy. They seemed to not dare to look directly into the man's eyes, and their voices were full of trembling and fear. The tall man in front of them was none other than the infamous Great Ghost Lord Xiong Wu, who had personally founded the Flying Sky Bandits. As for the third Ghost Lord Fong Wuhai, who had previously died at the hands of Fei Run, he was one of Xiong Wu's sworn brothers. Big brother, there's no use venting your anger on these trash now. The most important thing now is to find the murderer who killed Old Third. When I find this person, I'll definitely tear him to pieces and roast him on the spot. To avenge Old Third. At the side, a burly dark-skinned man with a spiked mace in his hand also spoke viciously. His tone was cruel, and his eyes that were like round bells flickered with a scarlet light. Obviously, he was not a kind person. Like the dead Fong Wuhai, the dark-skinned man was also one of Xiong Wu's sworn brothers. His name was Jiang Lin, and he was one of the three Flying Sky Ghosts like the Great Ghost Lord Xiong Wu before them. He was known as the Second Ghost Lord. Report. Suddenly, a gray-robed underling rushed into the hall and knelt on one knee. Great Ghost Lord, there's news. Speak. Xiong Wu glanced at him. The latest news is that the person who killed the third Ghost Lord is a new powerhouse on the villain roll. Ranked 17th, Cold-Blooded Blade Demon. Cold-Blooded Blade Demon? Narrowing his eyes, Xiong Wu's expression gradually turned serious. He had heard of this name before. Cold-Blooded Blade Demon was one of the rogue cultivators who had recently become famous around the ancient city. Even veteran mystique venerables like Black Whirlwind, Li Bai, and Taoist Wu Qing had died tragically at his hands. He was a rising star on the villain roll. No matter who it is, anyone who dares to kill my brother must die. Although Fei Run was very powerful and was ranked 17th on the villain roll, this did not stop Xiong Wu from seeking revenge. Instead, it made his murderous intent even stronger. Sky Burial Ancient Plains. At the same time, Fei Ren and Ma Bai were still on their way to the Buzhou mountain range. At this moment, they were completely unaware that they had been targeted by the Flying Sky Bandits and the True Energy sect. After all, he had made too many enemies over the years. He could not count them with 2 fingers. Chapter 692. Big Brother. A great emperor's tomb has appeared in the Buzhou Mountains. I'm afraid it won't be easy for us to get a share of the loot. Along the way, Ma Bai said cautiously. What do you mean? Fei Ren asked without turning his head as he hurried along. According to the information I've gathered, the owner of this tomb is no ordinary person. He's not an ordinary martial emperor. Ma Bai explained slowly, his tone shocked. It seems to be an important person from the ancient times, the Flame Emperor, the Lord of all Flames. Flame Emperor? Fei Ren's eyes narrowed. Second brother, is the information true? Ma Bai shook his head and said awkwardly, Big brother, I don't know. This information is from the outside. It's hard to tell if it's true or not. Why don't we capture a few young geniuses from the Flowing Cloud sect and ask them? That way, we might be able to find some clues. After all, the Flame Emperor's tomb in the Buzhou Mountains was discovered by the outer disciples of the 4th-rank Flowing Cloud sect. Forces like the Floating Cloud sect and the Tyrant Sword Alliance did not know about it. Only the Flowing Cloud sect knew the details. Facing Ma Bai's suggestion, Fei Ren helplessly smiled. I say, second brother, do you think that we don't have enough enemies? No matter what, the Flowing Cloud sect is still a rank 4 organization. There are many mystique, venerable rank fighters in the sect. Capturing their disciples is tantamount to declaring war. With our current strength, we can't fight against the entire Flowing Cloud sect. The other party was bold and had a violent and straightforward way of doing things. He did not seem to know how to make money by keeping a low profile. First, he offended the 6th-rank True Essence sect. Now, he wanted to find trouble with the 4th-rank Flowing Cloud sect. Fei Ren looked helpless. If he really listened to Ma Bai's suggestion, it would not be long before he offended all the major forces around the Emperor's pit. Although he was not afraid of his enemies, he still had to use his brain and avoid being impulsive. Right now, they had to offend a 4th-rank sect just to inquire about the tomb of a martial emperor expert. This was obviously not a good deal. We'll know when we get there. There's no rush. Fei Ren waved his hand and signaled. Oh! Seeing this, Ma Bai nodded very honestly. After a few days of cultivation, he had gradually familiarized himself with this body. His strength had also stabilized, and he was now close to rank 4 mystique venerable realm. Moreover, just like when he was in the body of a puppet, the current Ma Bai could still use his unique ability to turn bones into blades. No matter when or where, he could draw out the bones in his body and turn them into all kinds of sharp bone weapons. These bone weapons not only had astonishing destructive power, but also had the ability to grow. They could become stronger as Ma Bai's strength increased. Disregarding the enhancement from the demon core and spiritual inscriptions, the destructive power of the bone weapons in Ma Bai's hands was already comparable to some earthly spirit treasures. As for Fei Run, the elder brother, his strength had also improved by leaps and bounds after going through the training at the ancient crafting sect's ruins. Not only had his origin energy reached level 10 Martial King realm, which was close to the half-step Mystique Venerable realm, but his mental energy had also reached the inferior Earthgate realm, making him an Earth-grade alchemist. Not only that, but Fei Rin's Yin-Yang Dao technique, which he had immersed himself in for many years, had also transformed into the law of Yin-Yang. His overall strength had increased greatly, and he was now comparable to a rank 4 Mystique Venerable Realm martial artist. He could even fight a rank 5 Mystique Venerable Realm martial artist head-on. Fighting a rank 5 Mystique Venerable Realm martial artist head-on with a rank 10 Martial King Realm cultivation base. And he was not at a disadvantage. If word of this got out, not many people would believe it. However, Fei Rin's current strength was just that strong. Fighting someone of a higher rank was like eating with someone. Another 3 days passed. Fei Rin and Ma Bai finally arrived at the outskirts of the Buzhou mountain range. Big brother, we seem to be encountering more and more martial artists recently. Ma Bai turned to look at Fei Rin beside him. In the past few days, they had met at least a dozen martial artist forces along the way. Other than the 3 rank 4 forces, the Flowing Cloud Sect, the Tyrannical Sword Alliance, and the Floating Cloud Sect, there were also many disciples from rank 6 and rank 7 sects, rogue martial artists, and bounty hunters. The other party nodded and said calmly, "It's normal. We've already stepped into the outskirts of the Buzhou mountain range. When we get close to the Flame Emperor's tomb, there will only be more martial artists rushing over. After all, the opportunities left behind by an Emperor Realm powerhouse are not comparable to the treasures in the Grotto Heaven. Go, go, go!" Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of horses neighing came from the dense forest not far away. In the next moment, the leaves of the forest swayed. Countless black shadows rushed over at lightning speed, carrying a shocking murderous aura. They surrounded Fei, Rin, and Ma Bai. Piece of **T. I've finally caught you. A cruel man's cold laughter came from afar. In the next moment, a tall man in black wearing a white skull mask walked out slowly with a few gray-clothed bandits surrounding him. The man in black was covered from head to toe in a cloak and looked very mysterious. At this moment, his eyes flashed with boundless murderous intent. These guys are from the Flying Sky Bandits? Seeing this scene, Fei Rin's expression turned cold. He recalled that Feng Wuhai and the others he had met before were also dressed like this. However, the man in black in front of him was obviously more powerful than the third Ghost Lord, Feng Wuhai. In fact, he was more than a few times stronger. The big brother that Feng Wuhai mentioned before he died should be this guy. Fei Rin's gaze fell on the man in black in front of him, and his eyes narrowed. "You kill my brother back then. Let's see where you can run to this time." The man in black had a murderous look on his face. He was the infamous Great Ghost Lord of the Flying Sky Bandits, Xiong Wu. "Big brother, is this guy the cold-blooded saber demon that's rumored in the pugilistic world? Fei Rin, ranked 17th on the villain list?" Besides Xiong Wu, Jiang Lin, who was holding a mace, narrowed his eyes and looked like a tiger eyeing its prey. He seems to have some ability. No wonder he could kill third brother and his subordinates by himself. Jiang Lin also sensed an extraordinary origin power aura from Fei Rin's body. It was condensed and powerful, and not weaker than his own. "Big brother, who are these guys? Do they have a grudge against us?" Facing Xiong Wu and the others who had suddenly appeared, Mo Bai was puzzled. After all, he had not transformed into a human back then and did not know about the grudge between Fei Rin and the Flying Sky Bandits. They're just a group of bandits who started out by killing and robbing. There's no need to panic, Fei Rin said lightly. Obviously, he had expected this. "You're the great Ghost Lord of the Flying Sky Bandits?" Looking at the murderous Xiong Wu, Fei Rin's expression was calm. He was not surprised that Xiong Wu would come looking for revenge. Back then, the third Ghost Lord of the Flying Sky Bandits, Feng Wuhai, had led his men to kidnap the Rakshasa Chamber of Commerce's caravan. It was Fei Rin who had personally killed him and the bandits and burned their bodies to remove the evidence. Feng Wuhai was the number 3 figure in the Sky Sword Bandit group, and he had once become sworn brothers with the Grand Ghost Lord Xiong Wu before him. They were life and death brothers. Now that Feng Wuhai was dead, Xiong Wu naturally wouldn't let Fei Rin off so easily. Chapter 693. That's me. Xiong Wu's face was cold and murderous. Which one of you is Fei Run, the cold-blooded saber demon? Xiong Wu looked at the two of them and spoke as if he could not suppress the anger in his heart. It's me. What do you want? Fei Ren's lips curled up as he looked at Xiong Wu, who was so angry that he seemed to have lost his mind. You're the one who killed my brother, Fong Wu Hai? Your brother? Oh, you mean the eunuch whose face is whiter than flour? Fei Ren suddenly realized something. That's right. I killed that guy, but he was too weak. He couldn't even block one of my attacks. What a piece of trash. Bastard. Today is the day of your death. Xiong Wu was completely enraged. He waved his hand and shouted, Go! Kill them! Yes, big brother. Great ghost lord. In the next moment, the large number of bandits that had gathered in the area also drew their weapons. Under the lead of the second ghost lord, Jiang Lin, they charged towards Fei Run and Mo Bai. For a moment, the sound of battle cries shook the sky, echoing throughout the forest. Attack! Facing the siege of the bandits, Fei Run did not retreat. Instead, he drew the star-shattering saber from his back. He poured his origin energy into the saber and slashed at the bandits in front of him. Whoosh! In an instant, saber chi swept out and a white light flashed. Ah! A piercing saber chi swept across. In the next moment, countless bandits fell to the ground. Blood splattered everywhere, and they turned into cold corpses. These bandits were just ordinary bandits. They were pitifully weak. Most of them were in the martial spirit realm. Only a small number of them were in the martial king realm. They could not resist Fei Ren at all. Die! Unlike Fei Ren, Ma Bai's fighting style was even more ferocious and domineering. Every move he made was a direct hit. Every time the bone blade in his hand rose and fell, it would cause a gust of blood to spurt out, and countless bandits would fall. Crack! Mo Bai crushed the head of another martial king bandit with his palm. Blood dripped onto the ground. Mo Bai's delicate face was filled with boundless battle intent. It was as if he was possessed by a peerless god of war. The surrounding bandits did not dare to approach him and retreated one after another. Ha ha! Come on, fight! Weren't you quite arrogant just now? Why are they all a bunch of cowards? Ma Bai roared with laughter, and his long hair fluttered in the wind. He was poles apart from his previous appearance of a weak scholar, and he seemed like a bloodthirsty devil. This kid is going crazy again. At the side, Fei Ren swung his saber and killed a few more bandits. He turned his head and looked over. He had also noticed the changes in Ma Bai a long time ago. Every time Ma Bai entered a state of battle, it was as if he had become a completely different person. He yearned for battle and slaughter very much. It was very mysterious. Could it be that the ink magic stone and the spirit accumulating bone worked together? Not only did they help this kid transform into a human, but they also gave birth to a dual personality, Fei Ren thought to himself. Die. However, before he could ponder any further, Xiong Wu had already charged over from the side. Blood Spirit Palm. Xiong Wu's primordial power palm slapped across the air. His primordial power surged toward Fei Ren like a blood-red tide, and it was unstoppable. Child play. In the face of Xiong Wu's attack, Fei Ren was also awe-inspiring and directly slashed toward it. Star Source Cut. Boom! A large amount of sky blue Yuan Li, mixed with the biting cold saber chi and the majestic power of the spiritual inscriptions, instantly turned into an extremely sharp starry stripe, forcing back the incoming blood-red tide and turning it into nothing. Bang! The tide was destroyed. The palm slapped heavily on the blade of the star-shattering saber, and the powerful impact instantly pushed Xiong Wu back. This is a heaven-grade spiritual treasure. Looking at the star-shattering saber in Fei Ren's hand, Xiong Wu was slightly stunned, and in the next moment, his eyes were filled with greed. The other party's cultivation was only at LV-10 Martial King realm, but he had a heaven-grade, low-tier spiritual treasure. It was hard not to be surprised. After all, even some veteran mystique, venerable realm experts might not necessarily have a heaven-grade spiritual treasure to protect themselves. You want my star-shattering saber? I'm afraid you won't be able to take it with your life. Seeing Xiong Wu's reaction, Fei Ren sneered. There were many people who coveted his natal spiritual treasure, but in the end, without exception, they all died at his hands. Xiong Wu was not the first, and he would not be the last. Arrogant, Xiong Wu roared, and once again flew over, his fist punching towards Fei Ren's face. The previous exchange was just a warm-up. As a LV4 Mystique, Venerable Realm Martial Artist, and the great Ghost Lord of the Flying Sky Bandits, Xiong Wu's strength was naturally far greater than this. Big brother, be careful. Seeing this, Mabai's eyes turned cold, and he wanted to stop the murderous Xiong Wu. Stop right there. Your opponent is me. However, before Mabai could make a move, he was stopped by Jiang Lin, who was glaring at him from the side. Today, neither of you can escape. Jiang Lin licked his dry lips and slammed his mace on the ground. He said mockingly, "Pretty boy, if you surrender obediently and accept your death now, I might leave your corpse intact if I'm in a good mood. Scram, or else die." Mabai frowned at Jiang Lin, who was blocking his way. The next moment, he slowly pulled out a sharp white bone dagger from between his thumb and index finger. His eyes were filled with endless murderous intent. In his eyes, Fei Ren was not only his big brother, but also the master he would follow with all his heart. No matter who it was, as long as they dared to oppose Fei Ren, they would die in the end. Damn it, I'll kill you first. Then I'll kill that cold-blooded saber demon Fei Ren. Jiang Lin flew into a rage when he saw Mabai looking down on him. In the next moment, he brandished his mace and charged toward Mabai. Have a taste of my hammer. Jiang Lin raised the mace in his hand and smashed it at Mabai's vitals with a ferocious look. Boom! The shadow of the hammer flashed, and a cold light pierced through the air. His opponent was also a Mystique Venerable Realm martial artist. Although he was not as strong as Great Ghost Lord Xiong Wu and was only a rank 2 Mystique Venerable Realm martial artist, if this hammer hit, even Mabai would bleed. He might even die on the spot. Whoosh! Clang! Mabai swung the bone dagger in his hand forward and blocked his opponent's heavy hammer with a crisp sound of metal clashing. His expression was solemn. White bone, 1,000 blades. With a roar, Mabai flicked his wrist again, sending Jiang Lin flying with his hammer. In the next moment, countless sharp white bone blades suddenly shot out from all around his body, attacking Jiang Lin like a rain of swords. It was a great momentum. What kind of martial art is this? Seeing the countless white bone daggers shooting out from Mabai's body, Jiang Lin was caught off guard, and his expression changed slightly. At such a close distance, it was difficult for him to defend himself against the white bone daggers. Clang, clang, clang. Countless white bone blades rained down like a storm, covering the entire forest. Splat! Ah! The sharp bone daggers pierced his flesh and cut off Jiang Lin's left arm in an instant. Blood splattered everywhere, and Jiang Lin screamed like a pig being slaughtered. He flew backward into the forest behind him and fell heavily to the ground. Ha! Good job, second brother. On the side, Fei Ren, who was fighting fiercely with Xiong Wu, also cheered loudly when he saw this scene. Chapter 694. Mabai's primary energy cultivation was at level 4 Mystique Venerable Realm. On the other hand, second Ghost Lord Jiang Lin was only at level 2 Mystique Venerable Realm. Therefore, Fei Ren was very confident in the battle between the two. With Mabai's strength, killing Jiang Lin was only a matter of time. That's strange. When did this kid come up with this move? Fei Ren thought to himself. Mabai's 1,000 bone blades was no weaker than any heaven-grade martial arts. It was comparable to a mid-tier heaven-grade martial arts. Not long after he transformed into his human form, Mabai had comprehended a heaven-grade middle-tier martial art on his own. It was enough to show that his talent and comprehension were not low. He was even more intelligent than many of the martial arts geniuses that Fei Ren had seen. Second brother, second Ghost Lord. When Xiong Wu and the bandits saw that Jiang Lin's left arm had been chopped off with a single blow, their eyes almost popping out of their sockets as their expressions changed slightly. Damn it, this pretty boy is also a mystique, venerable realm martial artist. Xiongwu's expression was ugly. In the beginning, he had thought that Ma Bai was merely a martial king and that Jianglin would be able to kill him with ease. However, he never expected that Ma Bai was just pretending to be weak. His primary energy cultivation was already at level 4 mystique, venerable realm. He was not inferior to Xiongwu at all. How could a mere servant have a level 4 mystique, venerable realm cultivation? Where did this guy come from? Xiongwu shifted his gaze and looked at Fei Run, who was not far away. His face flickered with uncertainty. Although Fei Run was powerful, he was well aware that Fei Ren's cultivation was only at LV10 Martial King realm. However, Fei Run, whose primary energy cultivation was only at level 10 Martial King, had a level 4 mystique venerable realm servant by his side. This greatly surprised Xiongwu. Could it be that this fellow is a junior from some powerful sect or ancient clan? Xiongwu could not help but have this thought. TSK. Who would have thought that the great ghost lore of the Flying Sky Bandits would be afraid one day? Just as Xiongwu was hesitating, Fei Ren's voice came from afar. His tone was full of mockery and ridicule, causing Ma Bai's face to turn red with anger. Sharp-tongued little bastard. You think I'm afraid of you? Xiongwu gnashed his teeth, his bloodshot eyes staring fixedly at Fei Ren, as if he was a ferocious beast in a state of rage. Blood Spirit Palm. Mustering all the Yuan power in his body, Xiongwu once again attacked explosively. His palm blasted towards Fei Ren across the air. A large amount of blood-colored tide, mixed with boundless Yuan power, attacked Fei Ren like an ocean swallowing the sky. Whoosh! Rumble! The crimson tide arrives in a twinkling so fast. In an instant, Fei Ren felt his breathing become sluggish, and a strong oppressive aura crazily surged in all directions. The law of yin and yang. Fei Ren's eyes went slightly cold, and he immediately circulated the energy of the laws of yin and yang. At the same time, strands of pure origin energy surged out from his dantian, and it transformed into a golden shield that protected him within it. He seemed to intend to temporarily avoid the attack. Boom! In the next moment, a large amount of crimson origin energy swept in all directions, enveloping the entire forest. Even some of the bandits who were unable to retreat in time were sucked into the crimson origin energy. They instantly turned into a pool of blood and died, not even leaving behind a corpse. After all, Xiongwu was a veteran rank 4 mystique venerable realm expert. His strength and cultivation were evident, and ordinary martial artists were no match for him. Big Brother, seeing Fei Ren's entire body being swallowed by the crimson tide arrives, Ma Bai, who was in the midst of a fierce battle, turned his gaze towards them. This Big Brother is not dead. Ma Bai's eyes narrowed as he discovered that Fei Ren's entire body was protected by a golden shield formed from the laws and Yuan power. He immediately heaved a sigh of relief. After all, his opponent's cultivation was only at rank 10 Martial King realm. Although he could fight above his level, there was still a certain gap between him and a true mystique venerable realm martial artist. Good fellow, you actually used a sneak attack? As the protective golden light gradually dissipated, strands of the laws of yin and yang began to heal Fei Ren's injuries, and a look of displeasure appeared on Fei Ren's face. You had a lot of fun just now, didn't you? It's my turn now. Although his opponent was a rank 4 mystique venerable realm expert, Fei Ren's strength was not weak either. With the Overlord's demonic mark, the laws of yin and yang, and the heaven-grade low-tier soul treasure, Fei Ren's overall strength was no weaker than a rank 4 mystique venerable realm expert. Little B asterisk starred. I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Seeing that he had not been able to kill Fei Ren in one blow, a look of pity flashed across Xiongwu's fierce face as he spoke viciously. After the previous exchange, he knew that his opponent was a genius martial artist a rare rising star on the Wicked ranking list. However, Xiongwu was also very confident in his own strength. After all, the difference between a rank 4 Mystique Venerable Realm and a rank 10 Martial King Realm was not small. Moreover, he possessed a powerful life chart. Life charts were a special ability exclusive to Mystique Venerable Realm experts. It could greatly increase a martial artist's strength. Some rare and special life charts could even allow a martial artist to fight above their level and fight against 10 people alone. Right now, with the power of life charts and the majestic origin energy of a rank 4 Mystique Venerable Realm martial artist, Xiongwu was confident that he could defeat Fei Ren. On the other side, the fierce battle between Ma Bai and the second Ghost Lord, Jiang Lin, and a group of bandits was still ongoing. Although Jiang Lin had lost an arm, he still had his strength and did not surrender. As for the remaining bandits, they joined in the battle against Ma Bai. Kill! 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 Kill this brat! Avenge the third Ghost Lord! A few Martial King Realm bandits raised their arms and shouted as they led the charge. However, most of the bandits stopped in their tracks and hesitated. After all, they had all witnessed Ma Bai's terrifying strength. Even the second Ghost Lord, Jiang Lin, was no match for him, let alone these bandits who had not even reached the Martial King Realm. A bunch of trash. Seeing this, Jiang Lin cursed out loud. In the next moment, he did not care about his bloody left arm. He waved the mace in his hand and charged toward Ma Bai again. Jiang Lin knew very well that there was no way he could run away. If he wanted to live, he had to kill Ma Bai, who was blocking his way, or stall for time until Xiongwu, who was on the other side, killed Fei Ren and came to his aid. Die! However, Jiang Lin, who had lost his left arm, was no match for Ma Bai. In just a few rounds, he was defeated. Ma Bai pierced his heart meridian with a bone blade and killed him. Slash! Ma Bai did not stop after his sword pierced Jiang Lin's heart. Instead, he released countless sharp bone blades and turned Jiang Lin into a porcupine. Second brother, you two pieces of trash. Xiongwu was completely enraged when he saw Jiang Lin dying miserably at Ma Bai's hands and being chopped into meat paste by the sharp bone blade. His eyes were blood red, and he was on the verge of going crazy. After all, his two sworn brothers had died tragically at the hands of Fei Ren and Ma Bai. This hatred was as deep as the ocean. Vampiric spiritual blade. Xiongwu raised his head and let out a long howl. Then he clasped his palms together and summoned an incomparably sharp, blood-red, diamond-shaped blade behind him. The blade glowed with a cold light and was emitting an astonishingly cold aura. Blood transmutation. Strengthen my body. The vampiric spiritual blade could be used to kill enemies or absorb their blood to become stronger. This was the unique ability of Xiongwu's birth chart. Chapter 695. Vampiric Spirit Blade? This is that guy's life chart ability? Seeing this scene, Fei Ren also retreated. His body landed on the ground beside him, and his face was slightly surprised. Big brother, this guy's strength is not simple. He's several times stronger than Jiang Lin. After dealing with Jiang Lin and the rest of the bandits, Ma Bai landed beside Xiongwu with a serious expression. I heard that Xiongwu is a double-role powerhouse. Although Jiang Lin was the second Ghost Master of the Flying Sky Bandits, and his cultivation base was at level 2 Mystique Venerable Realm, his overall strength was still too weak. Moreover, his life chart ability was very ordinary, and he was no match for Ma Bai. However, Xiongwu was different. Not only was he the founder of the Flying Sky Bandits, but he was also a famous powerhouse on the villain role and master role. He was a rare double-role powerhouse. What was a double-role powerhouse? Simply put, it was a powerhouse who was ranked on 2 publicly recognized powerhouses rankings. In the martial arts world, there were several widely circulated powerhouses rankings. They were divided into the Hidden Dragon role, Master role, and Saint role. Those on the Hidden Dragon role were mostly young prodigies below Mystique Venerable Realm, while the Master role recorded some veteran Mystique Venerable Realm powerhouses. As for the rumored Saint role, it was even more difficult for ordinary people to reach it. Those who could be ranked on the Saint roll were all Saint realm powerhouses. Right now, Xiong Wu was a double roll powerhouse. He was ranked 10th on the villain roll and 92nd on the master roll. The master roll only recorded a total of 100 powerful mystique venerable realm powerhouses. Xiong Wu was able to suppress all of them and rank 92nd on the master roll, which was enough to show his strength. Double roll powerhouse? If I kill this guy, won't I become even more famous in the sky burial ancient plains? Hearing this, Fei Ren's lips curled into a smile. Big brother, although that's a good idea, it'll be difficult for you to kill this guy alone. Ma Bai's expression was serious. He continued, why don't we work together to deal with this guy? We should have at least a 70% chance of success. Seeing that Fei Ren was planning to fight Xiong Wu one-on-one, Ma Bai subconsciously expressed his concern. After all, his elder brother's primary energy cultivation was only at LV-10 Martial King realm, and the primary energy in his Dantian was not as strong as Xiong Wu's. Moreover, he had not comprehended the life chart ability unique to Mystique Venerables. In Ma Bai's opinion, if they fought one-on-one, the other party would most likely be at a disadvantage. No need. In the face of Ma Bai's suggestion, Fei Ren shook his head. This Mo Bai was bewildered by Zhang Xian's direct rejection. However, in the next moment, Fei Ren leaped forward, the star-shattering blade in his hand, slashing horizontally at Xiong Wu. Stellar Origin Slash. The surging star energy mixed with the biting cold saber, Qi instantly turned into a sky-blue waterfall, sweeping towards Xiong Wu's vital points. Even though there was a huge gap between their cultivations, Fei Ren's strength was not for show. Even if he did not use the Overlord's magic mark and the star-shattering blade, he did not fear Xiong Wu in the slightest just by relying on the undying body that was formed from the laws of yin and yang. Ha ha ha! Petty tricks! In the face of Fei Ren's attack, Xiong Wu raised his head and howled towards the sky, his face revealing dense disdain. Little bastard! Next, I'll show you what a real gap in strength is. Vampiric blade, go! Both of his hands turned into sword fingers. In the next moment, he pointed at the air, and the incomparably sharp blood-red long blade behind Xiong Wu also pierced through the air, causing waves of scarlet wind to howl. Its aura was monstrous. Swish, swish. Under the infusion of surging origin energy, countless tentacles erupted from the blood-red blade, instantly sucking away the blood from the corpses of the bandits in the surroundings. At the same time, the aura of the blood-red blade kept rising, and it became even sharper and more dazzling, like a deadly venomous snake that was accumulating strength and waiting to strike. This spirit blade can actually devour a person's blood essence and become stronger from there. Seeing this, Fei Ren also narrowed his eyes. He had underestimated Xiong Wu's life providence ability. Compared to Black Whirlwind, Li Bai, and Taoist Heartless, Xiong Wu's life providence ability was clearly more special and powerful. Whoosh! Hiss! In the blink of an eye, the venomous snake formed by the blood-red spirit blade flew over, opening its bloody mouth and biting towards Fei Ren's right arm. Clang! A crisp sound of metal colliding rang out. In the next moment, Fei Ren's figure also retreated a few steps. The star-shattering blade in his hand was shaken out of his hand and stabbed into the ground beside him. Blood dripped from the webbing between his thumb and index finger, revealing a large wound. Why is my origin energy? Fei Ren gently covered his bleeding palm and furrowed his brows. Although his injuries were not serious, he could clearly feel that the origin energy in his Dantian was rapidly draining away, as if a part of it had been forcefully extracted by someone. It was extremely strange. So that's how it is. This is the ability of that guy's life providence. Absorbing the origin energy of others for his own use is somewhat similar to the immortal refining cauldron in my hands. Fei Ren had a thoughtful expression on his face. After this exchange, he had more or less figured out Xiong Wu's life providence ability. As for his previous injuries, it was only because Fei Ren had done it on purpose. With the power of the laws of yin and yang, Fei Ren could maintain an immortal body state for most of the day, which was even stronger than before. Not to mention such a small injury. Even if his head was chopped off, he would not die for the time being. Vampiric Spirit Blade, Return. After extracting a part of Fei Ren's Dantian's origin energy, Xiong Wu muttered something and changed his hand gesture again, withdrawing the blood-red spirit blade. After devouring the blood essence of the surrounding bandits and Fei Ren's powerful origin energy, the blood-red spirit blade's luster became colder and colder, emitting a dangerous and fatal aura that was not weaker than any high-grade heaven-grade spirit treasure. "Kid, is this all you've got?" Xiong Wu sneered, looking at Fei Ren with eyes full of contempt, as if the other party was already a dead man. "It's too early to boast. Next is the real battle." In the face of Xiong Wu's provocation, Fei Ren did not get angry, but laughed instead. In the next moment, he lifted his leg and kicked the star-shattering blade on the ground to the side. At the same time, he tore open the somewhat tattered gray robe on his body, revealing his robust muscles and countless strange purple lines. "Overlord Tornado!" Fei Ren's expression was solemn as he shouted. In an instant, all the origin energy in his Dantian was released, and the purple Overlord demonic patterns seemed to be awakened, instantly burning and boiling. In a short while, they covered his entire body, emitting a powerful aura that shook the heavens and the earth. In the next moment, Fei Ren's entire body was enveloped by a strange purple light. His originally delicate and handsome face was covered with purple lines, and a faint dragon shadow could be faintly seen coiling around behind him, as if a hidden dragon had ascended to the heavens and descended to the world. What kind of martial art is this? Seeing the changes on Fei Ren's body, Xiong Wu's face also froze, and in the next moment, his expression was filled with horror. At this moment, he felt a near-death threat from the other party for the first time. Chapter 696. This is the power of the Overlord's Mageweth. Big Brother is finally getting serious. Seeing this, Mabai, who was watching the battle from a distance, was also shocked. Although he had been following Fei Ren, he had just transformed into a human and did not know much about Fei Ren's true strength. Now, seeing Fei Ren completely unleash the power of the Overlord's Mageweth, Mabai was also amazed. "I heard Big Brother mention that the power of the Mageweth is inherited from a saint-grade cultivation technique. It can only be condensed and derived through continuous cultivation and strengthening." Mabai suddenly thought of something. Fei Ren cultivated the saint-grade intermediate cultivation technique, records of the Overlord of Western Shu. His origin energy and explosive power were far superior to martial artists of the same level. At the same time, he could condense the unique power of the Overlord's Mageweth in his body to strengthen himself. Today, facing the Flying Sky Bandit's great ghost Lord Xiong Wu, it was the first time he saw Fei Ren use the power of the Overlord's Mageweth. Swoosh! Mabai leaped, and in the next moment, he retreated towards the dense forest and the mountain range behind him without even looking back. His entire figure was like a vigorous and agile monkey, disappearing with a few flashes. When two tigers fight, one must be injured. At the moment, he could not interfere in a battle of this level with his cultivation strength. Therefore, Mabai did not want to be a burden to his big brother Fei Ren, so he chose to avoid the battle and watch. "Cold-blooded saber demon, your servants have been scared away by me. Why don't you surrender?" Seeing Mabai suddenly retreat, Xiong Wu pretended to be calm and sneered. "If you accept your death obediently, I can't consider leaving you with a complete corpse. I can let you die with dignity." After witnessing Fei Ren's strength, he gradually stopped underestimating Fei Ren. He even called Fei Ren by his name, which was on the wicked list. However, Xiong Wu's killing intent did not decrease at all. After all, his two sworn brothers had died in Fei Ren's hands. He had to avenge them. Leave me with a complete corpse? Hearing this, Fei Ren did not think much of it. A mocking look appeared on his face, which was covered with purple veins. "I didn't expect that besides being ugly, you're not smart either. You don't know that you're about to die. Noisy, Xiongwu flew into a rage out of humiliation, and in the next moment, his palms blasted out countless blood-colored tides that were mixed with surging and powerful origin energy as they charged towards Fei Ren. Blood Spirit Palm. Fei Ren narrowed his eyes in disdain. Damn it, it's this trick again. Do you have any other new tricks? Although the power of his opponent's Blood Spirit Palm was not weaker than a heaven-grade low-tier martial art, it could not hurt him at all. After all, the powerful vitality and recovery abilities contained within the laws of yin and yang were not to be trifled with. Break! With the support of the Overlord's demonic mark, Fei Ren's battle intent surged as he unleashed an Overlord's fist. His entire body exuded a boundless aura and flashing purple light. It was as if a purple divine dragon had descended from the sky and swept through the world. Bang! Rumble! The fist tore through the air like a heaven-shaking thunderclap. The originally menacing blood-colored tide instantly retreated and turned into nothingness. Boom! After that, a large amount of fist energy did not diminish as it attacked Xiongwu like a long spear, aiming straight for his heart meridian. Vampiric Spirit Blade, protect me. In the face of Fei Ren's counterattack, Xiongwu was not to be outdone. He summoned the sharp, blood-red spirit blade again and completely protected his entire body. No matter how the fist energy wreaked havoc, he still stood firm. Buzz! 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 The vampiric spirit blade emitted a strange scarlet light as it slowly absorbed the origin energy and fist energy, wreaking havoc in the surroundings. Its aura became stronger and stronger, as if it had reached a certain state of saturation. This little bastard is really not easy to deal with. Xiongwu's expression turned ugly as he glanced at the vampiric spirit blade in front of him that was close to its peak. Although his life chart ability, the vampiric spirit blade, could continuously absorb the opponent's origin energy and blood essence to become stronger, there was a limit to it, and it was not limitless. After a fierce battle, the vampiric spirit blade in Xiongwu's hand had reached its absorption limit and could no longer absorb energy. On the other hand, Fei Ren's strength was still unknown to him. On the other side of the dense forest, this guy's life chart ability is really difficult to deal with. After his attack failed, Fei Ren's figure landed on the ground with a pondering look on his face. The faint dragon shadow and purple light that coiled around him had yet to dissipate. With his current origin energy cultivation, he could condense about 70 Overlord Mage Breaths, which was far better than before. Therefore, after using the Overlord Fist, Fei Ren still had energy left and could frequently use Overlord Fist, Overlord Mountain Splitter, and other martial arts. However, with his current origin energy and Overlord Mage Breath, he could only release Overlord Tornado once. This was his most powerful killing move at the moment. This guy's life chart ability has reached its limit, and he can no longer absorb energy. Seeing that Xiongwu did not take advantage of the situation to pursue, a trace of suspicion flashed across Fei Ren's eyes. Let's give it a try. In the next moment, wisps of pink flames appeared on Fei Ren's left palm. It was the spirit fire, color glass fire. Boom! In an instant, the color glass fire broke through the air and enveloped Xiongwu, who was not far away. Immediately, the temperature of the air around the dense forest rose by a lot, as if they were trapped in a sea of fire. What can a mere spirit fire do to me? Xiongwu raised his hand and shot out several blood-colored origin energy ribbons, destroying the colored glass fire that attacked him. His expression was cold. At the side, the vampiric spirit blade was still floating in the air and did not continue to absorb energy. As expected, this guy's vampiric spirit blade can no longer absorb energy. Seeing that the other party did not use the vampiric spirit blade to absorb his color glass fire, Fei Ren's heart skipped a beat and immediately confirmed his judgment. In that case, let's decide the outcome with one move. A cold smile appeared on Fei Ren's face that was covered in purple veins. Overlord Tornado. A fist fiercely smashed into the ground, and in the next moment, countless purple dragon shadows swept out. Mixed with boundless origin energy, They instantly turned into a large number of tornadoes and attacked Xiongwu. The momentum was earth-shattering. This punch was Fei Rin's full-strength attack, and it had almost exhausted all of his origin energy and the overlord demonic pattern that had condensed in his body. Bastard, I'll fight you to the death. Facing Fei Rin's full-strength attack, Xiongwu also controlled the vampiric spirit blade in his hand that had absorbed energy to the limit and faced it head-on. The origin energy in his dantian erupted and burned, intending to fight to the death. Boom! In an instant, the vampiric spirit blade shone brightly, and Xiongwu's entire body seemed to have become one with the blade, turning into a sharp blade that directly charged into the countless purple tornadoes. Rumble! An earth-shattering explosion sounded out from the dense forest. Countless amounts of Yuan power were annihilated, and the remaining power spread out in all directions. Countless ancient trees and trees collapsed, and the scene was a complete mess. Dust rose into the air, and the figures of Xiongwu and Fei Rin also disappeared into the boundless dust. After a long time, a gray figure finally appeared again, revealing a delicate and handsome face that was slightly tired. It was Fei Rin. Not far away, in a huge, deep pit, a middle-aged man in a black robe was lying quietly. The skull mask on his face had shattered, revealing an extremely ugly face. It was the Flying Sky Bandit's great ghost Lord Xiongwu. However, at this moment, Xiongwu's entire body was covered in blood. His robe was tattered, his aura was weak, and his appearance was extremely miserable. He had long since lost his previous overbearing and arrogant attitude. Chapter 697. He's not dead yet. Fei Rin was surprised to see that Xiongwu was still breathing and had not died on the spot. Xiongwu lived up to his name as the great ghost lord of the Flying Sky Bandits. He was one of the experts on both the villain ranking and the grandmaster ranking. He was the only person who had survived the Overlord Tornado. An ordinary LV for Mystique Venerable Realm Martial Artist would have died a long time ago and become a pool of blood. However, although Xiongwu was not dead, he was at the end of his rope. He was even more exhausted than Fei Rin. You deserve to die. Xiongwu struggled to climb out of the deep pit. His eyes were wide open and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. He looked like a zombie on the verge of collapse as he slowly walked toward Fei Rin, who was not far away. Although he had almost no origin energy left in his body and was severely injured, he did not collapse immediately due to his strong desire for revenge. As a LV4 Mystique Venerable Realm Martial Artist, he had been defeated by a LV10 Martial King Jr., who was also his nemesis. Xiongwu could not accept this humiliation. There was only one thought in his mind. He had to kill Fei Rin with his own hands no matter what. TSK, do you still want to fight? Seeing Xiongwu approaching him, Fei Rin spat out a mouthful of saliva and forced himself to stand up. Big brother, Ma Bai, who had been watching the battle not far away, rushed over with a solemn expression. Big brother, are you okay? This guy is at the end of his rope. He can't do anything. Let me take care of him. Xiongwu had almost no strength left. He was not even Martial King Realm Martial Artist. Any martial spirit Realm Martial Artist could easily kill him. He was like an arrow at the end of its flight. Therefore, Ma Bai did not take him seriously. No need. This is a battle between me and him. Don't interfere. However, Fei Rin was still very confident. There was a hint of determination on his weak face. Don't worry. He can't kill me. In the next moment, the power of the laws of yin and yang started to circulate slowly. Strands of natural energy that contained boundless vitality started to slowly heal Fei Rin's injuries, as well as his exhausted physical strength. He possessed the laws of yin and yang. It was comparable to an undying body. So, he was already in an invincible position. So why would he need Ma Bai's help? This was also where Fei Rin's confidence lay. The trump card in his hands were not limited to the Saint-grade cultivation technique and the Overlord's demonic mark. Xiongwu, without the power of a birth chart, you're nothing much. After breaking free from Abai, Fei Ren also slowly walked towards Xiong Wu, his eyes filled with killing intent. It's enough to kill you. At this time, Xiong Wu was already close to his limit. His body was abnormally weak, and he was simply unable to use the ability of the blood-sucking spirit blade. Die! With a loud roar, he swung his fist toward Fei Ren's face. The force of his fist stirred up a gust of wind. Whoosh! Bang! Fei Ren didn't try to dodge the incoming fist. Instead, he took it head-on. It doesn't hurt at all. Fei Ren reached out to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. He sneered and similarly punched the left side of Xiong Wu's face. In an instant, 2 of Xiong Wu's front teeth were broken, and blood instantly gushed out. Xiong Wu let out a blood-curdling scream. Half of his face was twisted into a fried dough twist, as though it was distorted by the intense pain. Again, little bastard. Die! Bang! 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 The 2 of them punched one after another, back and forth. Blood splattered all over the ground. Without origin energy, numinous treasures, and birth charts, Fei Ren and Xiong Wu were purely fighting with their physical bodies. Every punch and kick was ruthless and merciless. Although they had returned to their original state, every move could take a life. Fei Ren's gaze was resolute. Although his body was covered in injuries and dripping with blood, he still didn't fall. He seemed to be getting braver as he fought. Bang! Another punch sent Xiong Wu flying. Xiong Wu's head and body were pressed to the ground, causing his head to bleed instantly. Playing with your life? You're not qualified. Blood dripped from the corner of Fei Ren's mouth. His fists were already covered in blood and injuries. At this moment, one of his feet was stepping on his opponent's head. Whoosh! Go to hell. In his final struggle, Xiong Wu, who originally had no strength to move, suddenly sent Fei Ren's foot flying with a palm. Then, he pulled out an incomparably sharp black dagger from his sleeve and fiercely stabbed towards his opponent's heart meridian. Swoosh! Poochie! At such a close distance, the black dagger instantly sank into Fei Ren's chest. Blood dyed it red, and even his heart meridian was completely penetrated. You dog! Feeling the intense pain in his chest and the constant loss of his life force, Fei Ren frowned as boundless anger instantly surged into his heart. He didn't expect that Xiong Wu, who was already a lamp without oil, would still be able to launch a sneak attack at the last moment. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Under the nourishment of the yin-yang law's power, although Fei Ren's heart meridian was pierced, he still didn't die. He only coughed and bled on the spot. Soon, his injuries were completely healed and could be seen with the naked eye. How are you not dead? Seeing that Fei Ren was still alive and kicking after being stabbed in the heart meridian, Xiong Wu's face was also filled with shock. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Even a mystique venerable realm martial artist would not be able to survive if their heart meridian was shattered. Now, this miracle had happened to Fei Ren. This had already shattered Xiong Wu's previous understanding of martial arts. Was he still human? Die! While the yin-yang law was repairing his heart meridian, Fei Ren stepped forward and reached out with his palm again. He immediately crushed Xiong Wu's head, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Xiong Wu, a formidable hero of a generation, the leader of the 3 Flying Ghosts, a powerhouse on the 2 rankings, died just like that. Bam! After killing Xiong Wu, Fei Ren, who had exhausted all his power, was extremely weak. His body was so cold that he couldn't help but kneel on the ground. His hands were trembling uncontrollably. Looks like it's still too much to use this move before my cultivation reaches the mystique venerable realm. A total of 70 Overlord Mageweths were formed. This Overlord Tornado was so powerful that even this bastard's vampiric spirit blade couldn't devour it all, Fei Ren thought to himself. Although he had yet to master a birth chart ability, he still had the means to fight against a mystique venerable realm martial artist. Previously, Xiong Wu's birth chart ability, the vampiric spirit blade, which Xiong Wu was so proud of, had been destroyed by his origin power and Overlord Mageweth. After devouring a large amount of Fey Ren's origin power and Overlord Mageweth, the vampiric spirit blade in Xiong Wu's hand could not bear the burden and reached a certain limit. In the end, it even dragged down Xiong Wu's strength. Sometimes birth charts can kill and harm people. Fei Ren now had a deeper understanding of this unique power that belonged to a mystique, venerable realm martial artist. I wonder what kind of birth chart ability I'll be able to comprehend. Fei Ren collected his thoughts and glanced at Xiong Wu's cold corpse on the ground. Swoosh! With a thought, the divine refining cauldron appeared out of thin air. In the next moment, it devoured all the remaining life, essence, and origin power on the corpse. At the same time, it strengthened Fei Ren's origin power in his dantian. After all, Xiong Wu was a level 4 mystique, venerable realm martial artist. Naturally, his corpse would not go to waste. Boom! As wisps of pure origin power flowed back into his dantian, Fei Ren's body shook. The origin power around him surged and became several times stronger than before. Half-step to mystique, venerable realm. Fei Ren exhaled deeply. His face lit up with joy. Chapter 698. Big Brother, did you absorb all the remaining life essence in this guy's body? Seeing Fei Ren suck Xiong Wu's corpse dry, Ma Bai's face was filled with shock. His opponent's technique was miraculous. It was comparable to the legendary star sucking great technique, which could convert the opponent's skills for his own use. Fei Ren nodded. This guy was a 4th-level mystique, venerable realm martial artist when he was alive. We can't waste his remaining life essence. Unlike ordinary martial artists, every time he had a breakthrough in his cultivation base, he would need a huge amount of origin power. This was all thanks to the immortal refining cauldron in his dantian. This treasure not only strengthened Fei Ren's martial arts foundation, but also made each breakthrough extremely difficult. Big Brother, you're too strong. Ma Bai could not help but give him a thumbs up. Compared to Fei Ren's ability to absorb origin power and life essence and convert it into his own cultivation base, Xiong Wu's life chart ability, Vampiric Spirit Blade, paled in comparison. It was not even worth mentioning. The Vampiric Spirit Blade's ability could only temporarily increase his strength, and there was a limit to it. On the other hand, the immortal refining cauldron in Fei Ren's body was a treasure that originated from the beginning of the universe's chaos. Not only could it devour everything in the world, but it was also limitless. After today, the Flying Sky Bandit Gang will no longer exist in the Sky Burial Ancient Plains and the Emperor's Pit. After dealing with Xiong Wu, Fei Ren did not let the remaining Flying Sky Bandit Gang members go. He wiped them out as well. After losing the 3 ghost lords of the Flying Sky Bandits, the remaining bandits were like a group of dragons without a leader. They were like a flock of frightened birds, dying one after another at the hands of Fei Ren and Ma Bai. Then, Fei Ren personally destroyed the Flying Sky Bandit Gang's lair with a huge fire. From then on, it vanished into thin air. In front of the stronghold, flames soared into the sky. The surroundings were a mess and bloodstains. The bodies of the bandits were scattered everywhere. These bandits are still too weak. Even after devouring hundreds of corpses, their origin power can't even compare to Xiong Wu's. The light from the flames shone on Fei Ren's cold face. He shook his head. Compared to the great ghost Lord Xiong Wu, who was at rank 4 mystique venerable realm, the remaining bandits were pitifully weak. There were not even many high-level martial kings among them, and most of them were in the martial spirit realm. Even if the immortal refining cauldron devoured and absorbed this bit of cultivation strength, the increase in elemental energy would be like a mosquito's leg. Big Brother, the battlefield has been completely cleaned up. I have also collected the treasures in the stronghold. Shall we retreat? Not far away, a figure flashed, and Ma Bai landed steadily in front of Fei Ren. At the same time, he flashed the top-grade spirit ring on his right thumb. It was filled with many origin stones, spirit pills, medicinal herbs, and other miscellaneous items. They were basically all looted from the Flying Sky Bandits' lair. Go! Fei Rin leaped into the sky, and Mabai followed closely behind, leaving behind a dilapidated stronghold that had fallen into a sea of flames. On the other side, news of the tomb of the Flame Emperor had spread throughout the sky burial ancient plains and the Emperor's pit. In an instant, it had attracted the attention of countless forces. They all rushed towards the Buzhou mountain range, including some veteran mystique, venerable realm experts, and powerful bounty hunters. The tomb of an ancient Emperor realm powerhouse contained a huge amount of treasures and opportunities. It was hard not to covet it. Rumor had it that the appearance of the tomb of the Flame Emperor had even attracted the attention of some of the northern continent's Saint Realm experts who had been in seclusion all year round. Saint Realm powerhouses had already stepped into the mystique venerable realm. They were super powerhouses of the mystique venerable realm. These powerhouses were almost all existences in the continent. Even a slight movement of their feet could alarm many forces. Broken Soul, Cliff, this was a dangerous place located in the remote northwest of the northern continent. Usually, there were few people here. The area was filled with deadly marsh gas and many demonic beasts. Although it was very dangerous, it was also a rare place to cultivate. That trash Xiongwu was killed. At the top of the cliff, a long-haired man in a black robe and a purgatory ghost mask sat cross-legged. The long-haired man's aura was as sharp as a knife. Although he was not very tall, he was filled with a dangerous and powerful aura. No one dared to get close to him. Interesting. I didn't expect that brat Xiongwu, who was always so arrogant, to be killed by a young man. Even a Flying Sky Bandit group that he founded was destroyed. The long-haired man glanced at the green soul jade that was completely shattered in his left palm. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly into a half-smile. What a trash! As your former big brother, even I feel embarrassed for you. However, according to that trash's last words, this person seemed to be a sword cultivator who was skilled in sword techniques. He was also proficient in some kind of law power. Slowly taking off his mask, the long-haired man's eyes became even colder, revealing a terrifying face. His entire left cheek was exposed with a few long sword scars. Cold-blooded sword demon, I hope you can let me have fun. Master, I found out about the tomb of the Flame Emperor. Behind him, a figure slowly appeared, then knelt on one knee in front of the long-haired man. The person was dressed in gray, and his aura was powerful. He was at the mystique venerable rank. On his back, he carried a huge beheading sword with a cut like a bee's sting. His expression was cold and respectful, and he seemed to be the long-haired man's personal sword servant. A sword servant, as the name implied, was a servant who was usually responsible for carrying the sword. Moreover, his life belonged only to his master. Sometimes, he would even die for his master. At this moment, if anyone was present, they would be shocked to discover that the long-haired man was none other than a notorious expert around the Emperor's pit. He was a prominent figure on the Wicked ranking list, Ghostface Azura. Ghostface Azura was ranked 3rd on the Wicked ranking list. He was skilled in the shadowless sword technique and was proficient in many other powers such as fate charts and Azura Dao techniques. His origin power cultivation had reached level 6 mystique venerable rank. Rumor had it that he had once escaped unscathed from a level 8 mystique venerable rank expert. He was very powerful. One should know that even Troy, one of the 10 punishment elders of the Dragon sect, who was known as the Wild Thunder Venerable, only had origin power cultivation at level 6 mystique venerable rank. Moreover, his cultivation had been stuck at a bottleneck for many years, unable to break through. Compared to Xiongwu, Ghostface Azura's strength was not just a little bit stronger. He was even comparable to the dragon snake old man whom Fei Rin had met at the ancient city auction. Oh, now that the tomb of the Flame Emperor has appeared, is there any movement from the Floating Cloud sect, the Tyrannical Sword Alliance, and the Flowing Cloud sect? Glancing at the gray-clothed sword servant behind him, Ghostface Azura's terrifying face squeezed out a smile. His slender fingers lightly tapped the purgatory ghost mask in his palm. He was very interested in the tomb left behind by an emperor rank expert. Chapter 699. Master. These three forces have sent a large number of masters to the tomb of the Flame Emperor. Obviously, they are determined to obtain the treasures in the tomb, the gray-robed sword servant said unhurriedly. Moreover, in addition to the Floating Cloud sect, the Tyrannical Sword Alliance, and the Flowing Cloud sect, martial artists from other parts of the northern continent have also poured into the sky burial ancient plains and are rushing to the Buzhou Mountains in the depths of the Emperor's Pit. There was a legend about the Emperor's Pit in the hinterland of the sky burial ancient plains. In ancient times, an Emperor Realm Almighty was buried here, hence the name Emperor's Pit. Now that an Emperor Realm powerhouse's tomb had appeared, it naturally attracted the attention of various forces. As a mystique, venerable realm martial artist, the gray-robed sword servant's vision was not low. He immediately sensed the extraordinariness behind this matter. The appearance of the tomb of the Flame Emperor this time was likely to cause a fierce battle and even cause the entire sky burial ancient plains to fall into turmoil. Interesting. Ghostface Azura laughed, a cruel look appearing in his eyes. In that case, let's go join in the fun and see the new villain who killed that good-for-nothing Xiong Wu. Master, are you talking about the cold-blooded saber demon who recently rose to fame on the villain ranking? The gray-robed sword servant looked surprised. That's right. This is the person who killed that good-for-nothing Xiong Wu. Ghostface Azura's lips curled into a cold smile. Cold-blooded saber demon. You don't want to miss an Emperor Realm powerhouse's tomb, do you? Swoosh! The next moment, Ghostface Azura slowly put on the purgatory ghost mask in his hand and disappeared from the edge of the Broken Soul Cliff as if he had never been there. Cold-blooded saber demon. Faerun, I seem to have heard this name somewhere before. Where is it? The gray-robed sword servant's eyes were confused as he looked at the empty Broken Soul Cliff beneath his feet. However, his mind was blank. Deep in the Buzhou Mountains, at the foot of a valley, figures could be seen crisscrossing the valley as people from various forces gathered. The atmosphere was tense, and there was a slight smell of gunpowder. Big Brother, is the tomb of the Flame Emperor in this valley? Mabai hurried to the valley, and he secretly gulped as he looked at the groups of various forces that were eyeing each other covetously. The cultivators gathered in the valley before him could not help but be described as terrifying. There was a black mass everywhere, and, at a glance, there were at least 1,000 people. Among them, the three leading fourth-grade forces were the famous Floating Cloud sect, Tyrannical Saber Union, and Flowing Cloud sect of the Emperor's Pit. It should be here. Faerun slowly put away the star-shattering blade on his back, his face full of emotions. After destroying the Flying Sky Bandit's lair, he and Mabai finally arrived at the valley where the tomb of the Flame Emperor had appeared after a few days of traveling. This place was located in the depths of the Buzhou mountain range, where magical beasts ran amok. Right now, a large number of teams and martial artists and rogue cultivators had gathered here. It was obvious that the news was true. There's almost no one below the Martial King realm. There are also many mystique, venerable realm experts. Mobai looked around, his eyes cold. After some observation, he realized that the cultivators who could come here were not ordinary people. Even the weakest rogue cultivator had a cultivation base of 7th level Martial King realm, and there were many mystique, venerable realm experts. Not only that, but there were also several extremely powerful venerable realm auras in the sky above them, forming their own aura field. Their cultivation bases were very powerful, and they were clearly not ordinary mystique, venerable realm experts. 1, 2, 3. Wow, there are 6 high-level mystique, venerable realm experts, and their origin power cultivation bases are at least 7th level mystique, venerable realm. Faerun also looked up at the sky, his face cold. If he was not mistaken, the group of people gathered in the sky should be from the 3 major forces of the Emperor's Pit, Floating Cloud sect, Tyrannical Saber Union, and the last, Flowing Cloud Sect. Right now, Floating Cloud Sect, Tyrannical Saber Union, and Flowing Cloud Sect had all sent experts above 7th level Mystique Venerable Realm. They had obviously come prepared. Moreover, these three forces were all famous 4th grade forces, and there were true Saint Realm experts in their sections. Once a Mystique Saint Realm expert made a move, anyone below the Saint Realm was like an ant. Even Fei Run was not sure if these Mystique Saint Realm experts, who were hiding in the dark and had yet to show themselves, would make a move to seize the treasures. Looks like the treasures and opportunities in the Flame Emperor's tomb are not that easy to obtain, Fei Rin thought to himself. Above the sky, in front of a group of people, young sect master, everyone is here. Shall he make a move? A young man in a blue robe stood with his hands behind his back. Behind him on his left and right were two old men, one tall and one short, who looked very respectful. The young man in the blue robe had a handsome face, and his eyes exuded an unruly and extraordinary temperament. His origin power cultivation base was also very powerful, having reached 6th level Mystique Venerable Realm. Yuan Haoshuan, the young sect master of a 4th grade force, Floating Cloud Sect. At the same time, he was also a rare martial arts genius. Not only was he proficient in swordsmanship, but he had also comprehended a powerful and special fate. As for the two old men behind Yuan Haoshuan, they were Floating Cloud Sect's intersect elders. They were not weak either, having reached 8th level Mystique Venerable Realm. What did Father say? Yuan Haoshuan's expression was calm as he glanced at the short old man on his left. His father, Yun Tianxiong, was not only the current sect master of the Floating Cloud Sect, but also a powerful Saint Realm expert who dominated a region. His cultivation base was already at Mystique Venerable Realm. If Yun Tianxiong took action, they would have a higher chance of entering the Flame Emperor's tomb to search for opportunities and treasures. Sect Master has just come out of seclusion. He'll be here in at most one day. The short old man cupped his hands and said respectfully, in order to explore the Flame Emperor's tomb this time, the Floating Cloud Sect had sent out many of their experts. It could be said that they had mobilized all of their forces. Even Sect Master Yun Tianxiong was no exception. Very well, let's go in and open up a path. When Father arrives with the rest of the sect, even if those bastards from the Tyrant Saber Alliance and Flowing Cloud Sect join forces against us, we have nothing to fear. Hearing this, Yuan Haoshuan nodded. Then he glanced at the Tyrant Saber Alliance and Flowing Cloud Sect team not far away and sneered. Although the Floating Cloud Sect, the Tyrant Saber Alliance, and the Flowing Cloud Sect were all 4th grade forces, there was still a small gap between the foundations of the sections. Among them, the Floating Cloud Sect was the strongest, the Tyrant Saber Alliance was second, and the Flowing Cloud Sect was the weakest. Indeed, as soon as he finished speaking, the tall old man beside him stroked his long beard and nodded. Whether it is Zhan Hongshun, who is known as the strongest swordsman among the younger generation of the Tyrant Saber Alliance, or Hong Xian, the young master of the Hong family of the Flowing Cloud Sect, their reputations are undeserved. These two are no match for our young sect master. That's enough. Stop flattering me. Let's go. Yuan Haoshuan grinned coldly. In the next moment, he was the first to leap into the valley below. His speed was so fast that no one could see his afterimage clearly. Chapter 700. Old Deng, let's go. Seeing that Yuan Haoshuan was the first to enter the tomb, the tall elder beside him also glanced at his companion. His name was Lu Wuying, and he was one of the 5 elders of the Floating Cloud Sect. His cultivation base was at level 8 Mystique Venerable Realm. As for the short elder beside Lu Wuying, his name was Deng Qingchuan, and he was also one of the 5 elders of the Floating Cloud Sect. His cultivation base was not low. At present, Lu Wuying and Deng Qingchuan were Yuan Haoshuan's guards and main combat force in this trip to the tomb of the Flame Emperor. As for the rest of the Floating Cloud Sect, their cultivation base was lower and they were basically cannon fodder. The short elder named Deng Qingchuan nodded and waved his hand. Let's go. As soon as he finished speaking, the group of floating cloud sect people landed in the center of the valley and approached the entrance of the tomb of the Flame Emperor. Look, the floating cloud sect people have entered. It's the young master of the floating cloud sect, Yun Haoshuan. Also, the two old men beside him are all high-level elders of the sect. Even a level 8 mystique venerable realm has come. It seems that the floating cloud sect is determined to get the treasures in the tomb of the Flame Emperor. Just as Yun Haoshuan led the floating cloud sect people into the tomb, the large number of martial artists and various forces that had gathered near the valley became restless. For a moment, the atmosphere was heated. Everyone wanted to get a share of the treasures in the tomb of the Flame Emperor. At present, the floating cloud sect, the leader of the 3 rank 4 forces in the Emperor's pit, had already made a move. Moreover, it seemed that they did not trigger the restrictions and formations inside the tomb of the Flame Emperor. Naturally, everyone could not wait. On the other side, in front of the tyrannical Blade Alliance, the atmosphere was restless. A middle-aged man in black stroked his chin, then raised his eyes to look at the white-robed young man beside him. Hong Chun, Yun Haoshuan, and his group of people have already entered the tomb of the Flame Emperor and did not trigger any restrictions or formations. It seems that the periphery of the tomb is not too dangerous. However, this is the tomb of an emperor after all, and the owner of the tomb is the famous Flame Emperor of ancient times. There are probably many unknown dangers inside. The white-robed young man carried a broad-faced treasured saber on his back. The blade of the saber was light green and emitted a piercing sharpness, which corresponded with his domineering temperament. It looked extremely extraordinary. Obviously, it was not an ordinary spirit treasure. It was at least above the middle rank of heaven grade. Zhan Hongchun, the young master of the domineering Blade Alliance, had a cultivation level of level 5 mystique venerable realm. At the same time, he was also a once-in-a-century blade genius. Old Shui, we of the Tyrannical Blade Union are not a bunch of cowards who are afraid of death. Now that Yun Haoshuan dares to enter the tomb, how can we cower behind him? Zhan Hongchun crossed his arms in front of his chest and said calmly, "Besides, it took us a lot of effort to get here. Now that the treasures are right in front of us, how can we return empty-handed?" "That's right." The black-robed, middle-aged man grinned and said, "If the Union Master were here, I'm sure he'd have the same thoughts as you." His name was Chui Gu, and he was an expert of the Tyrannical Blade Union. His cultivation base was unfathomable, and he had followed the Union Master of the Tyrannical Blade Union through many battles in his early years. He was considered a senior figure in the Union. Like the other level 8 mystique venerable realm expert beside Zhan Hongchun, Chui Gu was his personal bodyguard. Whether it was the strongest floating cloud sect, the Tyrannical Blade Union, or the Flowing Cloud sect, these 3 forces had all sent high-level mystique venerable realm experts such as Deng Qingchuan and Chui Gu to explore the Flame Emperor's tomb. Let's go. Without further ado, Zhan Hongchun leaped down the valley and entered the ancient tomb. Behind him, Chui Gu led a group of Tyrannical Blade Union members into the tomb. At the front of the Flowing Cloud sect team, a young man in luxurious clothes slowly folded the folding fan in his hand, his eyes gleaming. Yin Haoshuan and Zhan Hongchun have already made their move. I can't fall behind. The finely dressed young man had a delicate face and a graceful and luxurious temperament. He looked like a young master of a wealthy family. He held a white feathered folding fan in his hand. He did not look like a cultivator, but a harmless playboy. Third brother. The finely dressed young man looked at a bald fatty beside him who was bare-chested and holding a wine gourd in his hand. Do a head count. Let's hurry into the tomb. If we're late, the treasures in the tomb might be taken by Yun Haoshuan and Zhan Hongchun first. Yes, young master. The bald fatty put away his wine gourd and burped. His chubby face flushed red. I've been waiting for you to say that. Don't worry. With me around, these guys won't be able to do anything. The bald fatty's name was Hong San. He was the sworn brother of the Flowing Cloud sect's Hong family. He had a powerful cultivation base and a high position. All the disciples in the sect had to address him as third master. As for the young man in luxurious clothes in front of Hong San, he was the Flowing Cloud sect's #1 genius, Hong Xian, the young master of the Hong family. His cultivation base was no weaker than Yun Haoshuan of the Floating Cloud sect and Zhan Hongshun of the Tyrannical Blade Union. Go, go, go. The treasures belong to the strong. Damn it. How dare you block my way? You don't want to live anymore, do you? Those who block me will die. After the martial artists of the Floating Cloud sect, Tyrannical Blade Union, and Flowing Cloud sect entered the tomb, the martial artists gathered near the valley swarmed toward the entrance of the Flame Emperor's tomb. In an instant, the atmosphere reached its peak. Some of the martial artists even started to fight before entering the tomb. Battle cries could be heard everywhere, and the situation was very chaotic. Ridiculous. They're already fighting before entering the tomb? When we enter the Flame Emperor's tomb, won't these guys kill each other to fight for the treasures? Seeing the chaos in the valley, Fei Rin found it funny. Big brother, let's not waste any time. Let's go in too. Mabai leaned over and asked softly. Although he was not very mature and was only like a 14 or 15-year-old human youth, he also knew that the treasures were hard to find. After all, the person buried under the valley was the famous Flame Emperor from ancient times. Let's go. Fei Rin nodded and flew toward the valley below. Now, entering the Flame Emperor's tomb was just the beginning. The fight for the treasures was the real highlight. Inside the Flame Emperor's tomb, it was desolate. Look, what's that? The group had just stepped into the interior of the mausoleum when they were greeted by a large group of unknown creatures. They were like a gathering of black clouds, and ear-piercing cries could be heard everywhere. The entire mausoleum was filled with nothingness wherever the black clouds passed. This is a swarm of obsidian bugs? Facing the large black cloud, Yun Haoshuan was also stunned. Then he squinted his eyes. Obsidian bugs were ancient poisonous bugs that contained deadly toxins in their bodies. Normal people would find it difficult to defend against their venom. Even some martial artists with high cultivation would be turned into a pool of blood on the spot after being bitten. Not even their bones would be left behind. Right now, the main body of the large black cloud gathering inside the tomb was a swarm of obsidian bugs. And these obsidian bugs were densely packed, like a complete swarm. There were at least 1 million of them. Chapter 701. A Swarm of Obsidian Bugs. Unlike Yun Haoshuan's reaction, Zhan Hongshan frowned slightly as a trace of doubt appeared on his face. Why would there be such poisonous bugs here? As far as I know, weren't these poisonous bugs extinct thousands of years ago? As the young master of the Domineering Blade Alliance, Zhan Hongshan was naturally knowledgeable and had seen much more than ordinary martial artists. The swarm of obsidian bugs that were wreaking havoc in the tomb actually had a long history. They were a type of bug that originated from ancient times and have been extinct for many years. However, a swarm of extinct obsidian bugs had suddenly appeared in the Flame Emperor's tomb. They were obviously extremely rare. Unlike ordinary demonic beasts, obsidian bugs were a special type of bug. Although they were highly poisonous, they did not have demonic cores and were generally worthless. The only advantage of obsidian bugs was the unique bug crystals that they bred. These bug crystals could be used as raw materials for refining high-tier spirit treasures. The purer the bug crystal, the more valuable it was. It could even be comparable to a heavenly grade pill. However, due to the strong toxicity of the obsidian insects themselves, as well as the powerful destructive power brought about by their swarms, ordinary cultivators did not dare to contend with them at all. Most of them would stay far away from them, and very few would risk their lives to scheme for these insect crystals. Young master, in front of the Flowing Cloud sect team, Hongsen stepped forward and took a sip of wine. Do you need me to do it? These obsidian bugs that have been extinct for many years were probably left behind by the tomb owner, the Flame Emperor. They were used as spirit beasts to guard the tomb and protect his tomb from being disturbed by outsiders. As a rank 8 mystique venerable realm expert, Hong San was very powerful. Although the swarm of obsidian bugs before him had extraordinary destructive power, an ordinary martial artist would not dare to fight against them. He was not afraid at all. With Hong San's strength, it was only a matter of time before he destroyed this swarm of obsidian bugs. It's just a swarm of bugs. How can you do it yourself, third brother? Hong Xian said calmly in response to Hong San's suggestion. At the same time, he looked at Hong San meaningfully. Third master, young master, but with these poisonous bugs blocking the way, we can't get through. Hearing this, the group of flowing cloud sect disciples at the back also looked at each other in confusion. They then looked at the two people in front of them, as if they were somewhat confused. With the swarm of obsidian bugs blocking their way, it would be difficult for them to even escape unscathed, let alone enter the tomb to obtain the treasure. After all, apart from young Master Hong Xian and Hong San, most of the flowing cloud sect's disciples were only at the martial king realm. It would be difficult for them to deal with this swarm of obsidian bugs. If they were to force their way into the tomb, they might suffer a great loss and be devoured by the swarm of bugs. What's the rush? Hong Xian's face was full of disdain as he continued. Don't forget that apart from us, there are still many ants that are ready to make a move. As long as these ants are here, a swarm of obsidian bugs won't be able to stop us. After he finished speaking, the corners of Hong Xian's mouth revealed a cold smile. His gaze landed on the floating cloud sect and the tyrannical blade alliance. Clearly, he was hinting at something. Get someone else to do the dirty work. At this moment, the group of flowing cloud sect disciples also suddenly understood the meaning behind the other party's words. Indeed, apart from the flowing cloud sect disciples, there were two other rank 4 forces in the tomb, as well as a large number of martial artists from all over the place. In the face of everyone's greed, a swarm of obsidian bugs would not be able to stop them. There would always be some people who would not be able to resist the temptation and rush in to obtain the treasure, willing to be cannon fodder. After all, when a person's desire grew to a certain extent, they could even ignore the threat of death. This was human nature. Gulp, gulp. In contrast to everyone's guesses, Hong San took out his wine gourd again and drank a little wine. He did not react to the swarm of obsidian bugs swarming in from all directions. His expression was very calm, as expected of the all-powerful Lord Flame Emperor of the ancient times. A mere burial ground like this actually raised a swarm of extinct obsidian bugs. TSK, in front of the tyrannical Blade Alliance's team, a meaningful smile flashed across Chui Gu's cold face. With these poisonous bugs guarding, ordinary martial artists below the mystique venerable realm will not be able to get close to this place. Even if they discover the entrance to the tomb, it will be useless. As an elder of the tyrannical Blade Alliance and a rank 8 mystique venerable realm expert, Chui Gu knew very well that the dangers and opportunities within an Emperor Realm expert's tomb were infinitely synchronized. The swarm of obsidian bugs at the entrance was just the beginning. The real test had yet to come. Be careful. As long as you avoid the mouth parts of these bugs and don't get poisoned, you'll be fine. Like Chui Gu, Zhan Hongshun was not in a hurry to make a move. He only instructed his subordinates to be careful. It's just a swarm of bugs. Now that the treasures left behind by the Emperor Realm tomb are right in front of us, what's there to be afraid of? In the crowd, a skinny martial king realm itinerant cultivator with a sallow face could not help but charge out. He wanted to break through the swarm of obsidian bugs and kill his way into the depths of the tomb. Idiot! Yin Haoshuan's lips curled into a cold smile as he shook his head. His opponent's cultivation level was only rank 4 Martial King realm. Although he was not too weak, he would not be able to resist the swarm of obsidian bugs that blotted out the sky. Only death awaited him. Accompanied by a shrill scream, the Martial King realm itinerant cultivator was instantly devoured by the swarm of obsidian bugs. His entire body turned into a pool of blood, leaving not even a bone behind. He was completely powerless to resist. These poisonous bugs can devour a person instantly and turn him into a pool of blood. Seeing this, the crowd's expression changed slightly as they were greatly shocked. There's no way out. Damn it, let's fight. Since we're going to die anyway, let's give it a try. Kill. In the face of the swarm of obsidian bugs that blotted out the sky and covered the earth, the crowd retreated rapidly. In the end, they had no choice but to turn around and attack the swarm of obsidian bugs. In an instant, the tomb was filled with the radiance of swords and cries of war. Soon, under the frenzied attack of the swarm of obsidian bugs, a large number of martial artists who had entered the Emperor Flame's tomb suffered heavy casualties. From the initial tens of thousands of martial artists, the number of martial artists had been reduced to only 3,000 to 4,000. Among them, most of the martial artists and itinerant cultivators who survived were above LV8 Martial King realm. The scene was extremely tragic. On the other hand, the Floating Cloud Sect, the Tyrannical Blade Alliance, and the Flowing Cloud Sect, which were rank 4 forces, were completely intact. Only one or two of them had unfortunately been poisoned by the obsidian bugs and had turned into a pool of blood. There were not many casualties. What a good way to kill with a borrowed knife. These people are indeed cunning. After killing hundreds of obsidian bugs with one slash, Faerun slowly wiped off the bloodstains on his saber. At the same time, he looked up at his surroundings and sighed. After this reshuffle, there are almost no weaklings who survived. At this time, the entrance of the tomb was already in a mess. There was a foul stench of blood, black water, and countless corpses of poisonous bugs everywhere. At this moment, most of the obsidian bugs that were wreaking havoc in the surroundings had been wiped out by the crowd and could not stop them from moving forward. However, this was not a small price to pay. Almost half of the martial artists were dead or injured. Other than the Floating Cloud Sect, the Tyrannical Blade Alliance, and the Flowing Cloud Sect, the rest of the smaller forces and itinerant cultivators suffered heavy casualties. Obviously, this was the Floating Cloud Sect, the Tyrannical Blade Alliance, and the Flowing Cloud Sect's plan to kill with a borrowed knife. They used the martial artists, itinerant cultivators, and disciples of the smaller sects who had entered the Emperor Flame's tomb as cannon fodder while preserving their own strength. Chapter 702. This thing is an insect crystal? Faerun was slightly surprised as he picked up a piece of strange black crystal from the obsidian insects' carcasses on the ground. This was a treasure that the obsidian insects had accumulated over the years. It was called an insect crystal. It was usually stored in the insect's stomach and could be used to refine some high-grade spirit treasures. I didn't expect that the obsidian insect saliva would look good after condensing into a solid crystal. It feels like a warm jade. Faerun gently wiped the black insect crystal in his hand and then kept it in his spirit ring. Although the insect crystal was rare, it was essentially the saliva of the obsidian insects. The saliva of these insects had been refined by the venom and condensed into a solid crystal. It became extremely smooth and hard at the same time. For those who knew their stuff, these insect crystals that were derived from the saliva of the obsidian insects were not disgusting at all. Instead, they were valuable and could be sold for a lot of money. So many insect crystals. Damn it, I'm rich now. I heard that some craftsmen would pay a high price to buy these special insect crystals. They're worth a lot. Some of the surviving cultivators also spread out, burying their heads in the carcasses of the obsidian insects, searching for these valuable insect crystals. Some cultivators even fought with each other for these insect crystals. After all, even if they only got a little insect crystal, they could exchange it for a lot of primordial stones, even the rare supreme grade primordial stones. And in the martial artist world, primordial stones were the most valuable wealth. Kid, stop. Hand over the insect crystals in your hand. Just as Faerun was silently collecting the insect crystals, a loud shout came from afar. In the next moment, a middle-aged man in a loose martial robe flew over and blocked Faerun's path of retreat. His eyes were full of fire. Good kid, you stole a lot of insect crystals just now, right? Hand them all over, and I can spare your life. The middle-aged man sneered. He just found out that Lin Huang had collected a lot of insect crystals, and some of them were of excellent quality. Swoosh! However, Fei Ren dodged the attack and flew into the depths of the mausoleum. Little bastard, you are courting death. Seeing that Fei Ren was ignoring him, the middle-aged man flew into a rage. He immediately slashed out with the sword in his hand, aiming at Fei Ren's back. The middle-aged man's cultivation was not weak. He had reached LV-10 martial emperor realm. In his opinion, Fei Ren was at most a young disciple from a small clan, who was inexperienced and could be easily killed. Noisy, Fei Ren did not even turn his head. He turned around and threw a punch. The Overlord's demonic tattoo was infused with the powerful half-step mystique venerable rank energy. In an instant, the middle-aged man's longsword was shattered. The remaining force of the punch landed heavily on his opponent's body. Bang! His fist pierced through the middle-aged man's heart meridian. In an instant, blood splattered everywhere. The middle-aged man's expression changed drastically, turning deathly pale. You're actually a half-step mystique, venerable. Rumble. Die. Before he could finish his words, Fei Ren pulled out the star-shattering blade with a flip of his hand. A stellar source blade chi swept out and instantly cut the corpse into pieces, killing it on the spot. So weak. After killing the middle-aged man, Fei Ren used the smelting Immortal Cauldron to devour the middle-aged man's corpse. His origin energy had improved a little. This young man is so strong. TSK. He easily killed a LV-10 martial emperor realm martial artist. This lad must be a young genius from a big clan or a top sect in the outside world. Why does this guy look so familiar? And that crescent-shaped snow-white broadsword. This guy seems to be the cold-blooded saber demon who recently rose to fame on the wicked list. Seeing that Fei Ren had easily killed the middle-aged man, some of the rogue cultivators around them looked over and started discussing with different expressions. Cold-blooded saber demon? Is this the lad? Zhan Hongchun crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked curiously at Fei Ren, who was not far away. As the young chief of the tyrannical Saber Alliance, he was proficient in saber techniques and had great strength. Now, seeing that Fei Ren was also a saber cultivator like him and had great strength, Zhan Hongchun was also curious about Fei Ren's background. In front of the Flowing Cloud sect team. Who is this lad? I'm quite familiar with the big forces around the Imperial Pit. Why haven't I heard of him before? Hong Xian was surprised and looked at Fei Ren, who was not far away. Although his origin energy cultivation was only at the half-step mystique venerable realm, which was far inferior to Hong Xian's, he was proficient in saber techniques and was quite young. More importantly, Fei Ren's strength was only the tip of the iceberg. His true strength was far beyond that. Young master, this little fellow seems to be a genius who has appeared recently. He is the cold-blooded blade demon who has a little reputation on the villain ranking. Should we go and recruit him? Hong San by the side also withdrew his wine gourd and probed. He seemed to have seen through Hong Xian's thoughts. No hurry. Let's observe him first. Hong Xian shook his head, which was a rare occurrence. He said cautiously, "Third brother, you know what kind of people are recorded on the wicked list. It is not easy to rope in these desperados to be your friends. We have to be careful." Ha ha! Hong San grinned as well when he heard this, and he took the opportunity to flatter Qin Shi. That's true. Young master really has a discerning eye. The entrance of the tomb was in chaos. Young sect master, are we just going to let these people snatch the insect crystals? Looking at the many martial artists crazily plundering the scattered insect crystals, the short elder Deng Qingchuan looked at Yun Haoshuan in front of him with some confusion. These insect crystals can be exchanged for a lot of primordial stones. Why don't I go and snatch some and bring them back to the sect as a level 8 mystique venerable realm martial artist? Although these insect crystals did not catch his eye, they were still valuable and could be exchanged for a lot of primordial stones. Now, it was a pity to just leave them here and waste them. In Deng Qingchuan's opinion, it was a pity. It's just some insect crystals. Compared to the treasures in the entire Flame Emperor's tomb, it's nothing. Our floating cloud sect is the head of the three great fourth-grade forces in the Imperial Pit. We have a deep foundation. How can we be attracted by this little prophet? Yuan Haoshuan looked contemptuously at the people fighting for the insect crystals and said arrogantly, "Let's go." As soon as he finished speaking, Yuan Haoshuan flew away and headed deeper into the Flame Emperor's tomb. The scattered insect crystals were still being fought over by the crowd. It was obvious that he was not interested in them at all. In the beginning, he had come for the true inheritance of the Flame Emperor's tomb. Now, these insect crystals could not catch Yuan Haoshuan's eye at all. It was fine even if he did not want them. Beside him, Lu Wuying also glanced at him and said in a playful tone, "Old Deng, you're a little greedy. You can't move when you see something good." The young sect master is right. Compared to the true inheritance of the Flame Emperor's tomb, these insect crystals are nothing. TSK, I'm just used to it. I didn't expect that the young sect master would not be interested in these insect crystals. Deng Qingchuan touched his big bald head and looked a little embarrassed. As soon as he finished speaking, the two of them moved and led a group of floating cloud sect people to follow Yuan Haoshuan. Chapter 703. After a chaotic battle, the insect crystals that were left behind at the scene were swept clean by the crowd. About 50 of them. The harvest this time is not bad. Fei Rin counted the obsidian insect crystals in his spirit ring and nodded. Although the quality of these insect crystals was generally low, and some of them had flaws on the surface, there were enough of them. If Fei Rin sold all of these insect crystals, they could be sold for at least a few million upper-grade primordial stones in the black market. Although it was not as good as the spirit bone, it was not far off. At the same time, on the other side of the tomb entrance. "Commander, we're rich. So many insect crystals. These are high-grade materials for forging spiritual treasures. We can definitely sell them for a good price." A few martial artists dressed in guard uniforms sat at the side, looking excited. One of them had a full beard, and his eyes were as big as copper bells. He was Fan Dabiao, who wanted to challenge Fei Run in Thunder City. Beside Fan Dabiao was Troy's trusted butler, Wu Yong, and a few guard from the Castellan's mansion. The appearance of the tomb of the Flame Emperor had attracted the attention of all the major forces in Thunder City. Apart from the City Lord's mansion under Troy's control, the other two major forces, the Rakshasa Guild and the Heavenly Eagle sect, had sent their men to the Buzhou mountain range to gather information. Wu Yong, Fan Dabiao, and the rest were sent to the tomb of the Flame Emperor in the Buzhou mountain range by the great elder of the Castellan's mansion, Qin Xian. "Dabiao, calm down. Don't forget why we're here." Wu Yong looked at the excited Fan Dabiao and calmed down a little. "We're only here to gather information. We don't have the strength to compete with the Floating Cloud sect, the Tyrannical Sword Alliance, and the Flowing Cloud sect for the inheritance and treasures in the tomb of the Flame Emperor. Originally, with their cultivation and strength, they were not qualified to enter this place, let alone the tomb of the Flame Emperor. After all, most of them were martial kings, and the strongest among them was Wu Yong, who was a half-step to Mystique Venerable. A few martial kings and a half-step to Mystique Venerable. Such a team composition in the tomb of the Flame Emperor would be cannon fodder. No one could beat them. If they were attacked by the obsidian bugs again, Wu Yong and the others would be wiped out in a matter of minutes. However, the violent lightning exalt, Troy, was still in closed-door cultivation while the Grand Elder, Qin Xian, had to preside over the headquarters of the city governor's estate and was unable to leave. So, he'd sent Wu Yong and the others to scout the way. "Yes, Commander." Hearing this, Fan Dabiao scratched his head awkwardly. The other party's words were not without reason. They were only here to inquire about information, and they were not qualified to compete with the Floating Cloud sect, the Tyrannical Saber Union, and the Flowing Cloud sect. Now, they were already very lucky to be able to get some soup and a few dozen insect crystals for free. Just as Wu Yong, Fan Dabiao, and the others were about to leave the Yin Emperor's tomb, something strange happened. A LV8 Martial King Realm Rogue Cultivator in the crowd suddenly screamed. The next moment, his limbs twitched and he fell to the ground. Blood frothed from his mouth. His face became extremely twisted and ferocious, as if he was possessed. What was going on? Seeing this scene, a portion of the cultivators were also surprised, and they all looked at the rogue cultivator. In the next moment, the crowd could not help but feel a chill run down their spines. Countless ink-colored tentacles suddenly grew out of the rogue cultivator's body. At this moment, they were twisting strangely like withered branches. Drops of blood dripped onto the ground, and it was extremely terrifying. In less than a few breaths, the rogue cultivator was dead. He was sucked dry by the ink-colored tentacles. His entire body, together with his head, was split into two like an empty shell. Only a wriggling black shadow was faintly discernible, trying to surge out of the corpse shell. Damn, what was that? Seeing this, a portion of the cultivators felt their scalps go numb, and they were instantly disgusted. After all, insect-like tentacles suddenly grew out of the human's body, and they were dripping with thick blood. It was truly terrifying. This is the obsidian insect queen hatching. Not far away, Fei Run, who had also noticed this strange scene, stopped and frowned slightly. Although the obsidian insect was an extinct, ancient, poisonous insect, it was not strong. Any martial king could easily kill it, unless a large number of obsidian insects gathered in groups. Only the rare obsidian insect queen had the ability to gather and reproduce in groups. Now, this unlucky martial king rogue cultivator was unfortunately targeted by the larva of the obsidian insect queen. As the host for the parasite's revival, he died in a daze, without leaving behind a corpse. So this larva of the obsidian insect queen hid in the body of a human cultivator. Not only did it avoid being hunted down by the enemy, but it also prevented the extinction of its entire race. Although this is just an insignificant insect, it's quite smart. Thinking of this, Fei Run grinned and immediately gave up on the idea of going deeper into the Flame Emperor's tomb. This was because the obsidian insect queen had a rare treasure on it, and that was the insect crystal. Moreover, the insect crystal that the obsidian insect queen produced was not an ordinary insect crystal, but a supreme-grade insect crystal. Although these insect crystals were accumulated from the saliva secretion of the obsidian insect over the years, there were still differences in quality. The obsidian insect queen's body was more special. It secreted very little saliva each time, and at the same time, the number of insect crystals it produced was also very limited. Moreover, the quality was higher. These insect crystals that were produced by the obsidian insect queen were usually called supreme-grade insect crystals, and their value was much higher than ordinary insect crystals. Even a small piece of supreme-grade insect crystal could be sold at a sky-high price. This was because the supreme-grade insect crystal was an excellent material for forging honorable spirit treasures and was highly favored by many weapon refiners. As for the rarity of honorable spirit treasures, it was self-evident that it was much more powerful than earthly and heavenly spirit treasures. Its power was not on the same level at all. Even Fei Ran's star-shattering knife, that was strengthened by the Cast Dragon Cauldron, was only a heavenly low-tier spirit treasure. This showed how rare the supreme-grade insect crystal was. Having this thing was equivalent to having another honorable spirit treasure. At this moment, in front of the Floating Clouds sect team, it's a supreme-grade insect crystal. Seeing that the obsidian insect queen had swallowed a human rogue cultivator and successfully molted, Deng Qingchuan, who was one of the left and right guards, also had his eyes lit up. He immediately cupped his hands toward Yun Haoshuan beside him and spoke in a greedy tone. Young sect leader, you might not be interested in this supreme-grade insect crystal, but I'm very interested. A supreme-grade insect crystal is a good material for forging honorable spirit treasures. Yun Haoshuan nodded slightly, then glanced at Deng Qingchuan and said indifferently, "However, you'd better act quickly. Although this supreme-grade insect crystal is valuable, don't forget the real purpose of our trip. Yes, young sect leader, I'll be back immediately. Hearing this, Deng Qingchuan also cupped his hands and said respectfully. Then, he turned into a stream of light and left the floating cloud sect's team. He charged toward the crowd, not far away. Obviously, he could not wait to seize the supreme-grade insect crystal. Chapter 704. Squeak, Squeak. The obsidian insect queen that had absorbed all of the blood essence was now fully resurrected. It let out a strange squeak. The obsidian insect queen was not big. It was only the size of a human palm. However, its aura was terrifying. It was comparable to a rank 3 mystique venerable. At the same time, it reeked of blood, which deterred people from approaching it. That guy is dead, one of the martial artists in the crowd exclaimed. On the ground beside the obsidian insect queen, the martial king's body had turned into a shell. All that was left was a layer of wrinkled skin and dregs. Not even a bone was left. It was obvious that he had died after his blood essence was sucked dry. Where did this insect come from? Is it also obsidian insect? Another martial king realm expert questioned in a shocked tone. After all, this obsidian insect queen was different from the swarm of obsidian insects that had attacked them before. It was even stronger. Not only did this obsidian insect queen know how to hide in a human's body, it could also devour the blood essence of human martial artists to grow stronger. Squeak! Just as the crowd was in a standoff, the obsidian insect queen suddenly let out a shrill cry. In the next moment, a long black tentacle shot out from its tail and went straight for a young man in a brocade robe. The young man in the brocade robe had a handsome face. He held a snake-shaped sword in his hand. His aura was not weak. He was already a half-step mystique venerable. Among the crowd, he was not considered weak. This insect wants to attack me. Seeing that he was suddenly targeted by the obsidian insect queen, the young man in the brocade robe's expression changed. He was furious and swung his sword. Die! Zing! His sword flashed, and his aura swept across the sky like a waterfall. Clang! 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 Boom! However, in the next moment, the obsidian insect queen's tentacles deflected the endless sword flashes and turned them into nothingness. They did not even manage to break through its shell. What? The young man in the brocade robe was shocked when his attack was blocked. It was as if he had seen a ghost. Splat! Ah! Before he could react, the obsidian insect queen's tentacle pierced through his chest. Blood splattered everywhere. The young man in the brocade robe turned pale immediately. He then let out a scream as his blood essence was sucked dry, and he died. Another one is dead. When they saw this scene, the hearts of everyone present couldn't help but tighten as if they were facing a great enemy. Squeak, squeak, squeak. After absorbing the blood essence of the brocade-robed young man, the obsidian bug mother's strength had grown even stronger. It was now comparable to a level 5 mystique venerable realm human martial artist. Run! At this moment, everyone couldn't help but feel the urge to retreat. However, the newly awakened obsidian bug mother did not plan to let them go so easily. Currently, the experts from the Floating Cloud Sect, the Tyrannical Blade Alliance, and the Flowing Cloud Sect had all left. Most of the people who stayed behind were martial kings, and only a few of them were half-step mystique venerable rank and mystique venerable rank experts. Unless they worked together, it would be very difficult to fight against the menacing obsidian brood mother. The scene was a chaotic mess. Occasionally, there would be a few cultivators who couldn't escape in time and had their blood essence sucked dry by the obsidian insect mother, turning them into dried corpses. Don't block the way. Deng Qingchuan landed on the ground and saw a rogue cultivator running towards him. Deng Qingchuan frowned and killed him with a palm strike. Is it there? Ha ha ha. It really is obsidian bug queen. I've picked up a treasure this time. Deng Qingchuan's eyes lit up as he stared greedily at the obsidian bug queen that was massacring not far away. He looked a little excited. Although the obsidian bug queen had just awakened and secreted a limited amount of insect crystals, it was still a high-quality insect crystal. Even a small amount was enough to forge an honorable rank spiritual treasure. At this moment, Fei Run did not run away immediately as he was being pursued by the obsidian bug queen. Firstly, he was also interested in the insect crystals in the obsidian bug queen's body. Even a small amount was worth far more than the 50 ordinary insect crystals he had. Secondly, Fei Ren coincidentally bumped into Wu Yong and the others who were there to gather information in the Flame Emperor's tomb. "Brother Wu, why did you guys come here?" Fei Ren was surprised when he saw Wu Yong, Fan Dabiao, and the others. With their cultivation level, coming here was a suicide mission. Although a half-step mystique venerable rank was not considered weak in the outside world, this was the Flame Emperor's tomb after all. Countless powerhouses had come here after hearing the news, hoping to get their hands on the treasures and opportunities left behind by the Emperor. Even a mystique venerable rank powerhouse could not guarantee that they could escape unscathed. As for those below mystique venerable rank, they were basically cannon fodder. So it's a long story. Wu Yong sighed, looking helpless. Young master. Fan Dabiao and the others were shocked. They looked at Fei Run with admiration and admiration. At first, they did not know that he was the cold-blooded blade demon who had recently risen to fame on the villain ranking. Not only that, but Fei Ren's strength was also several times stronger than when he was in Thunder City. I didn't expect young Master Fei to be the cold-blooded blade demon himself. Yeah, as expected of the successor personally chosen by the Castellan. With a cultivation level below mystique venerable rank, he managed to kill several powerhouses on the villain ranking. That's right. I heard that young Master Fei's bounty and ranking on the villain ranking have increased again. He's now in the top 10. A few surviving Castellan Mansion martial artists discussed in low voices, their words full of admiration. All right, stop flattering me. This is not a place where you can stay. If you want to live, you'd better leave quickly. Fei Ren looked at the crowd again and finally fixed his gaze on Wu Yong. Brother Wu, I'm sure you know how dangerous the Flame Emperor's tomb is. Even if you didn't encounter the Obsidian Bug Mother's attack, any of the powerhouses sent by the three major forces would be enough to wipe you out. Just like one of Yun Haoxuan's two bodyguards, Deng Qingchuan, who was at level 8 Mystique Venerable rank. This person was so strong that even Fei Run did not dare to face him head-on. Yes, we originally want to find out the truth about the appearance of the Flame Emperor's tomb. We didn't expect the information to be true. Wu Yong's face was filled with emotion and fear. If it were not for Fei Ren's help, they would not have survived. Sooner or later, they would have become the Obsidian Bug Mother's food. By the way, young master, aren't you coming back to Thunder City with us? Seeing that Fei Run did not plan to leave, Wu Yong's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly asked to test him. Fei Ren shook his head and said, now that the treasures in the Flame Emperor's tomb have not been found, opportunities are hard to come by. I can't miss this opportunity. Go back and tell Senior Troy that I'm very lucky and won't die. Men die for wealth, and birds die for food. Now that the Flame Emperor's tomb had appeared, he wanted a share of the hidden treasures and opportunities. Naturally, he would not leave so easily. Moreover, with Fei Ren's current strength and cultivation coupled with Ma Bai's assistance, he wasn't afraid at all even if the members of the three great powers wanted to target him. This was the confidence brought about by strength. Chapter 705. All right. Hearing this, Wu Yong could only nod his head. He had seen the other party's current strength, which had far exceeded everyone's imagination. Although Fei Ran was only a half-step to Mystique Venerable and had not truly stepped into the Mystique Venerable realm to comprehend the ability of Life Chart, his true strength was already enough to crush an ordinary Mystique Venerable. Unless a high-level Mystique Venerable like Deng Qingchuan personally attacked, no one would be able to do anything to Fei Ren. Young master, we'll leave now. Wait. Fan Dabiao and the others cupped their fists at Fei Ren and were about to leave when they were stopped by the other party. There are some good things in here. Take them. They might be useful. After saying that, Fei Ren took out a top-grade spirit ring and threw it to Fan Dabiao and the others, one for each of them. These spirit rings contained many primordial stones, herbs, and other treasures. Most of them were looted by Fei Ren from the ruins of the ancient weapon refining sect. He had kept some of the most valuable treasures for himself, and most of the rest were useless to him. Young master, these are? Wu Yong raised his hand and took the spirit ring with a surprised expression. There are some weapon refining blueprints that have been lost since ancient times. I heard that you're quite knowledgeable in weapon refining. They might be of some help to you, Fei Ren grinned. He had no use for these weapon refining blueprints. At most, he could sell them for some primordial stones. It was not a bad idea to give them to Wu Yong to win him over. After all, Wu Yong was the steward of Thunder City's City Lord Mansion and was capable. In the future, regardless of whether Fei Ren was in charge of Thunder City or not, with Wu Yong and the others helping him manage the City Lord Mansion, he could be considered to be in control of a force. After all, in the martial arts world, one would always be at a disadvantage if one fought alone. Only with subordinates would one be able to succeed. Back in the eastern mainland's Blazing Sun region, Fei Ren had agreed to join the Blazing Flames sect with Zishu Jinren Fengyun for the same reason. With a backer behind him, there was nothing to worry about. Weapon refining blueprints? Hearing that, Wu Yong was delighted. He cupped his fists at the other party and spoke respectfully. Thank you, young master. Thank you, young master. Not only the other party, Fan Dabiao and the others also knelt down and spoke in unison. They had already regarded Fei Ren as the new master of Thunder City. After Wu Yong and the rest left, the sounds of killing gradually subsided. Gurgle, gurgle. The obsidian bug queen seemed to have reached the limit of its absorption of blood essence. At this moment, it retracted its black tentacles and stopped attacking the surrounding cultivators. At the same time, it lay down on a rock, its abdomen rising and falling slightly, as if it was about to hatch its offspring. At that moment, there were less than 100 surviving martial artists. Aside from Fei Ren, the weakest among them was a rank 1 mystique venerable. Everyone looked exhausted, and their bodies were covered in blood as they glared angrily at Deng Qingchuan, who was not far away. The other party stood with his hands behind his back. His expression was calm, and he had no intention of making a move. Deng Qingchuan, aren't you going to make a move? We'll all die here once the worms hatch. Among the crowd, a mystique venerable could not help but shout angrily. The other party was a rank 8 mystique venerable. If Deng Qingchuan personally made a move, the obsidian bug queen would not have the chance to kill so many martial artists and would not have the extra blood essence to hatch its eggs. Oh, you want to teach me how to do things? Deng Qingchuan glanced coldly at the other party, a cold, murderous intent appearing in his eyes. You! Seeing this, the mystique venerable's expression turned ugly. He then gritted his teeth and did not dare to talk back, as if he knew that he was no match for Deng Qingchuan. Trash! Seeing that the other party had instantly admitted defeat, Deng Qingchuan snorted coldly and looked at the obsidian bug queen that was laying on a rock not far away. There was a reason why he did not make a move just now. He was waiting for the obsidian bug queen to secrete the highest quality insect crystal. Only when the obsidian bug queen had discharged all the eggs in its abdomen would it secrete the insect crystal again. That way, Deng Qingchuan would be able to obtain a complete piece of the highest quality insect crystal. If he had killed the obsidian bug queen just now, he would only have obtained a small piece of incomplete insect crystal. Although it was still a highest quality insect crystal, it was much smaller in size. Soon, the obsidian bug queen stopped ovulating. The incubation is finally complete. Seeing that the obsidian bug queen had finished ovulating all the eggs, Deng Qingchuan smiled. It's time for me to make a move. Die. Deng Qingchuan flew out and blasted out a giant palm made of elemental energy towards the weakened obsidian broodmother. Boom! Creak, creak, creak. The palm energy swept through the air and turned into streaks of yellow light. They immediately cut open the obsidian bug queen's tail, leaving behind a large pool of strange black blood. Even the bug queen's tentacles were cut off. Although the obsidian bug queen's strength had decreased greatly after ovulating and was not even at rank 5 Mystique Venerable, Deng Qingchuan was still a rank 8 Mystique Venerable. His strength was not to be trifled with. Even if the obsidian bug queen was at its peak, it was still no match for Deng Qingchuan. It was only a matter of time before it died. Creak. With its tail injured, the obsidian bug queen let out a furious and terrified cry. Its small bean-like eyes looked at Deng Qingchuan. In the next moment, it opened its mouth and spat out a large ball of highly toxic mucus in an attempt to melt Deng Qingchuan. You're just a worm. How dare you go against me? Facing the obsidian bug queen's counterattack, Deng Qingchuan was not angry. Instead, he laughed and waved his sleeve. Billowing origin energy turned into a yellow barrier and blocked all the poisonous liquid. At the same time, he punched the bug queen's abdomen. Bam! Deng Qingchuan's powerful fist force was infused with boundless yuan power. With a casual strike, he sent the obsidian bug queen flying. Even its wings were broken, causing blood to flow incessantly. Let's attack together. Seeing that Deng Qingchuan had finally made his move, the surviving martial artists and rogue cultivators also attacked. They once again charged toward the weakened obsidian bug queen, clearly intending to get a share of the loot. After all, the obsidian bug queen had a supreme-grade insect crystal in its body. Moreover, it had finished ovulating. If they did not kill it as soon as possible, a swarm of obsidian bugs would attack them when all the eggs hatched. Then, they would be in grave danger. Soon, the obsidian bug queen died, tragically under the siege of the crowd. It died on the spot. Crack! Deng Qingchuan cut open the obsidian broodmother's body with a single slash, revealing a dazzling light inside. It was transparent and white, a rare top-grade insect crystal. Moreover, it was a whole piece, half the size of a human head. I finally got the supreme-grade insect crystal. Looking at the huge piece of supreme-grade insect crystal, Deng Qingchuan was excited. The supreme-grade insect crystal was a rare crafting material. It could be used to craft honorable spiritual treasures. As long as there were no accidents during the crafting process, the quality of the spiritual treasures would be at least lower honorable spiritual treasures. If it was a highly skilled craftsman, he could even craft an upper honorable spiritual treasure with this piece of supreme-grade insect crystal. It was infinitely close to a divine, spiritual treasure. Even the star-shattering knife in Fei Ren's hand was only a heaven-grade, low-tier spirit treasure. Chapter 706. Bam! Deng Qingchuan crushed the obsidian insect queen's carcass in a powder with one palm and took out the large piece of top-grade insect crystal. Yun Haoshuan, Lu Wuying, and the others had led the floating cloud sect's troops into the depths of the Flame Emperor's tomb. As one of the two guards, he could not waste any more time here. Deng Qingchuan, are you planning to take the top-grade insect crystal for yourself? Seeing Deng Qingchuan's actions, the expressions of the people nearby changed. One of the Mystique, Venerable Realm martial artists shouted, "What? Are you unhappy?" Deng Qingchuan looked at him with disdain and said coldly, "Or do you want to die too?" TSK. Hearing that, the Mystique, Venerable Realm martial artist gritted his teeth. He seemed to be weak and did not dare to face Lucian directly. His origin power cultivation was only at level 2 Mystique, Venerable Realm, and was no match for Deng Qingchuan. Damn it, so many of us died, but in the end, it all went to the Floating Cloud sect? It's so unfair. Everyone should have a share of the top-grade insect crystal. We put in a lot of effort to kill the obsidian insect queen. That's right, Deng Qingchuan was planning to watch from the sidelines and reap the benefits. Facing Deng Qingchuan's overbearing behavior, the crowd was very unhappy and angry. However, they only discussed in low voices and no one dared to stand out. After all, the other party was an inner elder of the Floating Cloud sect and a level 8 mystique venerable realm martial artist. His strength was unfathomable. Looks like the situation is not intense enough. How can this be? At the edge of the crowd, the scene was also witnessed. Facing the crowd's agitation, Fei Run rubbed his chin and smirked. Let me add some fuel to the fire. Big brother, what are you doing? Ma Bai was confused and looked at the other party in confusion. Could it be that the other party was planning to snatch the top-grade insect crystal from Deng Qingchuan's hands? That was too unrealistic. After all, the other party's cultivation was at level 8 mystique venerable realm, while Fei Ren was only at half-step mystique venerable realm. There was a difference of 8 small realms and 1 large realm. Cultivation techniques and spiritual treasures could not make up for the difference in strength. Don't these people dislike Deng Qingchuan's tyrannical behavior? I'll help them, Fei Ren said meaningfully. The next moment, a wisp of pink-colored glaze fire appeared between his right fingers, flickering and jumping. Seeing this, Ma Bai's heart trembled. Big brother, are you thinking of? At this moment, the atmosphere was still tense, as if a battle was about to break out. Scram if you don't want to die. Seeing that the crowd was still glaring at him, Deng Qingchuan frowned and angrily shouted, I am one of the inner elders of the Floating Cloud sect. You bunch of ants dare to go against me. This supreme-grade insect crystal is mine. Facing Deng Qingchuan's threat, a portion of the martial warriors also hesitantly dispersed, making way for him. However, most of the surviving mystique venerable rank warriors did not move an inch. Among them, there was no lack of veteran rank 5 or rank 5 mystique venerable rank experts. It seemed that they did not intend to let the other party take away the top-grade insect crystal so easily. Go! In the dark of the crowd, Fei Ren flicked his finger. The next moment, the glaze fire also shot out and instantly turned into a sea of fire, rolling toward Deng Qingchuan, who was not far away. It was an impressive sight. Boom! Deng Qingchuan was also taken aback by the endless sea of fire. What? He had never thought that the group of martial warriors in front of him would dare to snatch the treasure. Moreover, it was a sneak attack from behind. They did not take the Floating Cloud sect seriously at all. You're courting death. You asked for it. Deng Qingchuan's face was filled with rage as he dispersed the sea of fire with a single palm strike. Billowing yuan power swept out as a majestic war god, celestial body, appeared behind him. The war god, celestial body, flickered with a mysterious glow, causing his short stature to involuntarily grow taller. The law phenomenon was his fate ability. It could instantly increase his strength by several times, and at the same time, it could ignore part of the mind power attack. Old bastard, we don't know who will live and who will die. Leave the supreme great insect crystal and we'll spare your life. What's there to fear from the Floating Cloud sect? Once we kill this guy, we'll get the supreme grade insect crystal. Just as Fei Ren's sneak attack failed, a portion of the mystique venerable realm martial warriors who had been blinded by greed became hot-blooded and joined forces to attack Deng Qingchuan. After all, sometimes a small fuse could be blamed for the outbreak of a fierce battle. Fei Ren had become the fuse that stirred up the situation and completely ignited the battle. Die! Deng Qingchuan blasted out another palm across the air. Even at his peak, Deng Qingchuan's strength was shocking. He instantly killed the 2 low-level mystique venerable realm martial warriors who had surrounded him. However, there were still a few dozen mystique venerable realm martial warriors who had survived. Faced with their combined attacks, even Deng Qingchuan, who was at level 8 mystique venerable realm, found it difficult to escape and fell into a bitter battle. The battle was very tense. Due to the excessive consumption of origin energy, Deng Qingchuan's aura gradually decreased, and his face was full of fatigue. Boom! Buzz, buzz, buzz! After killing a few more mystique venerable realm martial warriors, the war god Dharma form behind Deng Qingchuan gradually became illusory. It seemed that more than half of its power had been used up, and could no longer maintain the Fate ability for a long time. F***CK. Mabai retreated to the edge of the battlefield with a face full of fear. Big brother, these guys are really fighting. Your tactic of driving the tiger to devour the wolf is too sneaky. That's a really good tactic. Previously, Fei Run had used the glaze fire to launch a sneak attack in the dark. Mabai did not expect that it would instantly ignite the battle and cause Deng Xingchuan to fall into a bitter battle. This was something that Mabai did not expect. Driving the tiger to devour the wolf, taking advantage of everyone's greed for the supreme-grade insect crystal to scheme against Deng Xingchuan. Even if Deng Xingchuan was a level 8 Mystique Venerable Realm Martial Warrior, he would not be able to withstand the encirclement of all the Mystique Venerable Realm Martial Warriors present. At first, Mabai was a little worried that if Fei Run had launched a sneak attack on Deng Xingchuan, it would have angered him. Now, it seemed that his worries were unnecessary. Deng Xingchuan could not even take care of himself and could not care about anything else. He did not even know if Deng Xingchuan could protect the supreme-grade insect crystal in his hands. Hee, it's just a small trick. Fei Ring grinned. Since these guys want the supreme-grade insect crystal so much, I'll help them. However, the supreme-grade insect crystal will definitely be mine in the end. Second brother, let's hide first and wait for an opportunity to strike. When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. At the moment, Fei Run was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he hid with Mabai in a corner not far away and watched the battle. He wanted to wait for Deng Xingchuan and the group of Mystique Venerable Realm itinerant cultivators to exhaust themselves. After all, his cultivation was only at half-step Mystique Venerable Realm. If he forcefully took the treasure and joined the battle, there was a high chance that he would die. At this time, he could only win with his wits and use his brain. Okay, big brother. Hearing this, Mabai also nodded. The next moment, he held his breath and focused, trying his best to reduce the origin energy on his body to the lowest level. At the same time, he stared at Deng Xingchuan and the others who were engaged in a fierce battle. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.